Let me refresh and check it out, and we'll give people a few minutes to pop in here. Hello, everyone. If you're here, thank you for being here. Let's see if we got a live episode going. We do. Okay. And let's test the audio. It's been a while since I've done a live episode.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. It's working. It's definitely working. All right. Let's do that. All right, cool. Well, thank you all, for being here, whoever shows up. And if no one does, it's okay too. That's all right. This is long overdue, this live episode. I said we would do a Venom vlog live, and I was trying to get to it at a certain point, and just life just kept hitting me. And I really wanted to do this like 5 days ago on November 5th, because that is officially the first, like that's the anniversary date of the Venom vlog. So that was the first Venom vlog episode we uploaded, was actually on November 5th, but of like 2017. So officially making this 8 years that we've been talking about Venom. It's funny, actually, Blue was telling me we had a job interview recently, and they had asked about YouTube because it's on our resume, because we learned a lot of skills doing YouTube. Like there was things about editing I didn't understand. There was things about, music I didn't understand, like especially when you get like copyright. So we started figuring out how to make our own music for certain things so that we would get less strikes and less claims on our videos. And it just helped us learn how to pivot. If something happened that was like a new rule on YouTube or a new whatever, we would have to go, okay, well, how do we still follow that and still do what we do? And a lot of times it was easy because, I wouldn't say I'd make any crass content. I wouldn't say I make like, anything super controversial either. Sometimes I may have very passionate opinions on stuff, but what I like is that this has helped me overall get better at communication, and not just communication with people, but like with components and digital aspects and, computers. And it made me more literate to things that I kind of would turn a blind eye to sometimes, because I'm like, I don't need to do this on a computer because I can do it by hand, or I can do this. And I feel like this was a great tool in helping me grow as a person. And I think Blue mentioned some of that, but I feel like that's a good selling point. Like if you're ever applying for jobs, and whether they're creative jobs or not, like there's a lot of skills you can learn by being on YouTube, and being like a streamer or being a content maker that you can use in the real world. Especially that job, I think it involved like setting up conference calls and things like that, and other things, and some other creative stuff, but it had like grunt work and creative work like all kind of mixed in. And I'm just like, dude, like that's us. Like our whole lives have been between like grunt work and creative work, and both at the same time. So yeah, we unfortunately we didn't get that job, but that's okay. Like I think at the end of the day, like making a name for yourself and putting yourself out there and trying things at least shows people you're interested. And even if you don't get stuff right away, things could open up later. And I do take rejection not great. I always like feel like, oh, maybe we could have done more. We could have done more this, or maybe we could have said this in the interview. And I would say it's just like auditioning for like a movie, for actors and other things. It's like you can't really beat yourself up. You just have to go, hey, I did my best. Maybe I could have said something differently, but if you sit and think about that too long, it'll eat at you, because you just never know. You don't know what people are looking for. You don't know exactly what they need. You may be overqualified for something, and they're just like, hey, this guy or this person, like we don't need to like walk them through this. They'll be fine if we throw them in at another time, with another position. So there's just so many things like that. So I would just say that YouTube, though, doing this has been fun because as a hobby, it has taught me a lot. It's been one of the best teachers, as has everyone who's ever watched this show and communicated with me, whether you posted something positive, negative, whether you gave me really constructive feedback or just told me I sucked. Like so there was a little growth each time, for sure. But I see a couple people popped in, like feel free to say hi in the chat if you want. Otherwise, I'm just going to ramble here, and I would love to have people to talk to, because this could be our last Venom vlog live. I have some comics and some things here that I'll tell you about that are things that might come up on the show. I am running low on episodes. Obviously, there was at one point a blueprint of all the comics I wanted to cover, and that has changed somewhat. So like so I have some things here that we might talk about here, and they may or may not end up as shorts or as episodes before the end. One of them definitely is going to be an episode for sure, but we'll get into that. But I just wanted to say thanks for being here, those who are, and feel free to give us a thumbs up and feel free to join the chat once you start rolling in. But for now, I want to start this episode off and talk about some comics that, again, I may discuss coming up. And as far as topics tonight go, I might give my feedback on the Sony universe overall, since that is now officially ended with Venom: The Last Dance and Craven and stuff. So we might get into that a little bit. And then, where I hope to see Venom moving forward outside of comics and things like that. And we also will talk about some of the upcoming comics and the Al Ewing stuff and everything, because I think they're doing a Null miniseries now that'll be coming out, written by Al Ewing. And I kind of wish it was written by Donny Cates, to be honest with you. But we'll see what Al does with the character. I know he just wrote the character in issue 250 of Venom, but I did not pick that issue up, so I have no idea if it was good or not. But we'll get into that too. So first off, Venom did pop up, or symbiotes did pop up, but Venom as well, in the recent Marvel Rivals comic, King in Black. Now, this is a digital comic series that comes out on the Marvel Unlimited app, which is worth it. If you're out there and money's tight and you want to keep up on comics, this is a good app to get because you're only like 2 months behind on, like 2 or 3 months behind on current comics, so you can keep up pretty well. But then also you get a lot of cool exclusive digital series stuff that is out there, including Marvel Rivals. And so this is like 6 of those digital comics all in one comic book format. So I'm glad they print these. And I think there's a trade paperback coming out too that'll collect all the Marvel Rival books that have come out up until the next one shot. So you'll get them all. I think that comes out like in December or January or something like that. But yeah, Marvel Rivals King in Black. This talks about symbiotes. It kind of has a side story that is involved with the last season of the game, or the season that Blade and Phoenix joined the fight. So this is also fairly current. I know the new game starts tomorrow, I think, with Rogue and Gambit and their wedding on Krakoa, and how that gets kind of messed with, during the battles and stuff. So they're going to add maybe Rogue and Gambit, though. So that sounds like fun. But I haven't played Rivals in a while. I think Blue maybe has a little bit, but I haven't really played it since the first season. I know when Blade came in, I think I played it once or twice when Blade came in. But I know Blue did because, we're Blade fans. But if you want more Blade and symbiotes and Eddie Brock, there's a cool moment with Eddie in here. I didn't find the book particularly great, to be honest with you, or well written, but there's some neat moments in it. So I may or may not do a short episode on it. We'll see. And then I also have this Symbiote Spider-Man series, 2099. Now this and all of the Symbiote Spider-Man books, because we only covered the first one that Peter David wrote, and Peter David tragically has passed away since these books have come out. Actually, this is a Peter David, he didn't draw this, but this was a cover that was exclusive that I bought online, where the money went to help Peter David with medical bills. I think this was like, Hero Initiative or some company, or, someone did this cover. And I loved it. I loved the cover, but I love that it also went to help a great guy and talented writer. So I do want to do an episode that talks about all the symbiote stuff, but I've been rereading them and taking notes. It's a lot, and it's probably going to be a long episode. It might be like an hour long. So we'll get to that. That will be one of the episodes before the ending. But yeah, I gotta work at that one. That one's taken a while. But yeah, Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 and all the other previous Symbiote Spider-Man books, we're going to do one big episode where we cover it, because the Symbiote Spider-Man storylines that Peter David wrote, they kind of fill in the gaps like over the years of Spider-Man. So there's like these they're all hidden stories that take place when Peter Parker had the black costume and before he fully realized he had the black costume. So they're kind of adding to the continuity of Spider-Man. And so I love that. And they've all been really great. I've read them, before when they were coming out. I just never did episodes on them except the first one. But then I read this one. I was like, and then he passed tragically, Peter David. So I said, let's just do an episode where we cover them all before the end so we can get all this continuity in there. Now that's added to the actual lore of the characters, including this one, which, Peter David, after he wrote the Venom storyline, he did like a quick Goblin story, and then he walked away from the book of Spider-Man 2099. So even though he did other Spider-Man 2099 books, this felt like, okay, this immediately attaches to that original series and feels like a kind of a goodbye in a way, to some of that world and what he did with that world. So I definitely want to make an episode that covers that specifically. So you will see that for sure. And hello again, 2 people still in here. Thank you so much. Spider-Man 94. Now, there's no symbiotes in this, but there is Kane. They do a version of Kane here. And so I've been trying to pin down, and it's not been anyone's fault. Like, life just kind of hits you all the time. And when you try to collab with somebody, life can hit 2 people, at the same time or different times, and it can cause delays. But I know Randy and we're going to come back together at least one more time, and we're going to do a Parasite podcast episode where we kind of catch up on everything Ben Reilly, since he's currently back in Amazing Spider-Man. I don't want to reveal how if you haven't read it, but I've been really liking it, and what they're doing with Ben in that book. And then also Kane, who has now appeared in another universe, in the animated universe. So we're going to talk about these issues, or this miniseries, and also the Amazing Spider-Man run so far with Ben Reilly. We might do an episode coming up of the Parasite podcast, and it'll probably be our last Parasite podcast as well. So I thought it would just be fun to have Randy back on there and do stuff. And I'll try. I know Eddie's mullet. We talk in the comments sometimes, but I would love to have him on one more time. And and I've always wanted to have Swordsman on. Actually, Swordsman, in my mind, has won like the most prestigious award really ever on this channel for me, is because he's commented the most. You go back and count up all of his comments, and there's almost as many comments as there are Venom vlog episodes. And that's because sometimes he'll wait after like 2 or 3 videos, come out, and then he'll comment and put his thoughts on, 2 or 3 videos worth in one comment on one video. But that's still like, that's been amazing. Like that kind of dedication to where I always know where Swordsman stands on stuff. Like, and out of everyone who's commented on this channel, he's been the one where I'm like, I know exactly where he stands, to the point now where I sometimes will read something and go, I wonder if Swordsman will like this. I don't know if he will. And then I'll see a comment and he'll criticize that, and I'll go, you know what? Interesting. Like, that's cool. Like, I'm starting to like pick up like how he sees things on a certain level. Obviously, there's always things that change. But it's been cool. So Swordsman, if you're out there, like, just thanks for all the support for over this whole time. And everyone, like, there's been people who were here in the beginning, and, life is everything. Like, I follow YouTubers too. And sometimes you watch them, and then sometimes they disappear, or sometimes you just lose interest and you go on to something else. And then you see, like in this case, like, hey, the show's ending and the channel's ending, people come back to say goodbye and stuff. And it's just cool to like know that I made any kind of like impact, as even like on a friendly level. Like, I'm not saying I changed anyone's lives, which I certainly don't think I did that, but I have had people write me and say, hey man, I watched your stuff like during a tough time, and it was awesome, and that you engaged with me, and I got through that tough time. And that's mind blowing. It's like, really, I just came on here to talk about the character Venom and Tom Hardy, and it turned into so much more. And so I've always been grateful for that. And that's another thing, as I said earlier about doing YouTube, how things just kind of just, go, the things you learn, like I said, I learned communicating with people, but I also learned like communicating with devices and getting better at tech stuff and doing some things. And not that my channel's overly, amazing, because like even now it's just me. I'm just using this on my phone, but that's because I've been having problems with my laptop lately. So might be time to, I've tried to do a couple things to fix it. Some things are working, but I've had this for a couple years, and it might just be time for an upgrade too, because we've beaten this one up like with a lot of editing, a lot of exporting, and a lot of creative stuff, trying to put a drawing tablet attached to it, and trying to play some more modern games on it and stuff. Like, we've really beat this guy up a little bit, sadly. So maybe I'm just in the cards for another laptop at some point in the near future. But for now, I figured this is just a chill chat. I just didn't want to do anything crazy or have like all the graphics. Like, I'm like, I have the comics here. We'll just hold them up and we'll talk about them. Speaking of Venom, separation anxiety, this series here, another one where like David Michelinie is going back and adding to the lore of the character of Venom. And just like Peter David did with the symbiote stuff, we have David Michelini going back and adding earlier adventures of Eddie and kind of him finding his moral compass. And this one was a really neat one, the separation anxiety. So I wanted to definitely do episodes on this. This has like the Purple Man in it and everything, because the last one I think we talked about was Doctor Doom. So it's just more Eddie meeting other characters in the Marvel Universe that he didn't ever really come across or came across briefly. And I think Michelini does a good job on these. Like they're a little wacky and weird at times, but that's just kind of how he writes, and that's how he wrote back then. And so he's kind of keeping in that vein. So yeah, you'll see possibly an episode. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do one on separation anxiety too. So those will at least be two more of the like 7 remaining Venom vlog episodes. King in Black, I don't know. Like I said, I might do like a symbiote short on it or something, but we'll see. Then I also have these other things that we may do shorts on, because there's Mayday Parker, and she interacted with symbiotes and stuff. But since that's an alternate universe, that's not really continuity. You know, it's M2 continuity. I thought about doing a whole episode on Mayday and Gwen, because Spider Gwen becomes Gwenom. So we'll see. Like I'm still gonna try, because we didn't do that Mary Jane versus Spider Gwen miniseries either. And you know, when she turned into Gwenom, and Mary Jane was like Carnage from another universe. So we still haven't covered that from like the King in Black storyline. So I might try to do a whole Gwen episode, a whole Mayday episode. Chillers is a really tough one. I really hope I can finish Chillers. So I was editing at one point Chillers Volume 3, because remember that Chillers is that like kind of novella. It was written as a novel kind of, but printed as a comic book form. And I broke it up into 3 sections. And the last one, I recorded everything. I did my voice, you know, where I was like reading everything. I recorded that. I found all the images I wanted to put into the video. And then that computer was crashing. So to save that file and that footage, I put it on a jump drive, like you know, like a giant one, like a 1 terabyte external hard drive. And I said, all right, let's save that, and we'll revisit it before the end. Well, now I have to like get those files and and revisit it. So that's what I'm trying to do. So it's just taking a lot of work. That was supposed to be the next episode of the Venom vlog, and it's taking so much work trying to salvage some of that stuff. And I might have to re-record stuff too. So it's just been nuts. And Blue has been working for us at our job, and I'm losing my voice. I've noticed he must be talking a lot at work and raising his voice a lot, like not yelling, but he likes to get animated and talk to people. So yeah, I'm losing my voice already. But before I get into this stack of comics, real quick, I see some comments. So Enigmatic Vein, what's up, dude? Thank you for being here. Just wanted to say how much say much love to you, Seek. You're the only positive Venom coverage we got. You shouted me out on a Venom vlog episode when I found the budget to the first Venom movie. That's right, you did. Like, because I was looking for that information, and that's what I mean about like communication and talking. Because I kind of cut myself off a minute ago. Like talking to you guys, there was so much stuff you guys have shown me and taught me, and information you've given me. And I've tried my best always to say who I got that from. And I'm glad I didn't like let you down, and that I actually did shout you out, because I think that's just the right way to do things. You know, I've had other YouTubers that are bigger than me at one point contact me and say, hey, I saw you cover this on your, you know, you made an episode of this. Like one of my viewers sent it to me, and I came across your channel now, and that was cool that you covered that. You know, like it, is there any more information you can get me? And I've always been like willing to share stuff, but hesitant too, because I did that a couple times in the beginning. And then some other channels like went and just did the episode. They didn't mention my channel. They didn't mention, like, I'll say, hey, I'll say this person gave me that information. So if you want to shout them out and say, hey, this was covered on the Venom vlog, but it was information from this person, do that for me. Like, you know, if the information came from someone else and I was able to share that, and I would see those videos go up and no mention. So I was like, so it kind of disillusioned me, you know, but it made me want to more and more shout people out when they gave me something, because I know I'm still like, 3,000 is not a small number, and definitely in my mind, I never thought we would get to 3,000 viewers on this channel and subscribers. But to the grand scheme of YouTube, like the bigger YouTubers and the people that do cover Venom, a lot of them have way more views and way more subscribers and followers than I do. And you're right, a lot of times they are negative. And I didn't set out to just be like Mr. Positive. I just wanted to set out to be like fair, you know, and understanding. Like I wanted to be like, hey, I know what it's like as a storyteller, as a comic book editor, as someone who worked in film. Like I've have these backgrounds, so like that doesn't mean you can't crap on somebody, like or say like, hey, this sucks and here's why. Like it doesn't mean you can't criticize or anything like that, or just flat out say someone sucks. But I think it does put into perspective sometimes where I'm like, well, yeah, this is not what I would have done with this material, but let's take it for what it is, and let's dissect it is, it is for what it is. Like, so like if the Venom movie, okay, yeah, it's not what I would have done on some levels. I wouldn't have made something without a connection to Spider-Man, or as a fan of the comics or whatever. But if Sony came to me and said, hey, you have to make a Venom movie and it can't have anything to do with Spider-Man, there's also like a challenge in that as a creator. You're like, okay, well then what can I do? What are the elements that I have to keep in? And that's why I made those episodes early on where I was like, well, Venom's main motivation is that he gets screwed over, kind of, he feels blackmailed in some way, whether it's, you believe him or not. But he feels like his life is ruined by an entity or a person. And the Venom symbiote also feels wounded by that person. So Eddie and the suit have to bond to take down that threat that wounded both of them. And the first movie does that with Carlton Drake. The Life Foundation captures the symbiotes and hurts them by dissecting them and trying to, figure out what makes them tick. So it's tortured by the Life Foundation. And then Eddie's life gets tortured when he makes a stupid mistake. So again, just like in the comics, he's the component of his own downfall. And the Life Foundation just, adds to it or blows it up more to make his life crumble faster, much like how he feels Peter Parker did him wrong. And so all the elements were there, they're not one-to-one perfect, but they're there. So the motivation for the character and his arc is still there on some level. And so it helped me like understand things. And so again, I wasn't trying to do things just to be the positive, reviewer, because certainly I'm not. There's a couple videos of me, really bashing stuff that I don't like, but I also believe in being honest and saying how I really feel, even if it's emotional. But Matt, thank you so much. And hey, thanks. It was awesome. And I appreciate our limited interaction on Twitter and email. Take care, my friend. You too, man. And yeah, I'm sorry, that email, I set up that email hoping to stay in touch with some people when I left Twitter. And I've personally just been awful at keeping up with it. We got a new phone and I didn't transfer that email over to that new phone. And so, so I would always have to use our old phone. So we have two phones, right? Is the other one over here? I don't think so. I think it's on over there, but charging and stuff. But I have two phones. We have our old phone, which has the crack in the case. That was the one when I was walking Ace. He jerked me at the last minute. He saw like a squirrel or something, and I wasn't paying attention fully. And I didn't have a good grip on my phone. So I planted my feet to make sure he stayed, but I let go of my hand instinctively just let go of the phone and it broke. And so I kept that phone for two reasons. One, it reminds me of Ace, who I miss dearly. But two, it also is something I just gave to Blue. So like Blue is signed in on his Instagram account on that phone. That way, because there's sometimes where he'll pick up our new phone and he'll like a picture or he'll post something and he's signed into my account. And so we made it easier by just going like, all right, let's put your account on this phone and my account on this phone. And the phone he has also has that email address. So because it kind of became his phone, I just never pick it up or check it. So I kind of dropped the ball on that one. And yeah, I'm sorry about that. If you ever sent me an email and I didn't respond, like it's not personal. That's the reason, is that it's just like it's on another phone, and as silly as that sounds, I just was like, that's Blue's phone, and I don't pick up that phone anymore. So yeah, but I always appreciate any interaction I've ever had, and Twitter has been like, I've just never enjoyed Twitter. Like I had a Facebook account, post aneurysm. I think I had a Facebook account pre-aneurysm back when it was just for college students and stuff. I think we created it to stay in touch with a friend of ours who didn't have like MySpace or something at the time. But then, of course, Facebook became its own thing, and we got rid of Facebook in 2016. And I think it was a couple months after that election in 2016, and then Twitter soon after, and then I would go back to Twitter because people would always say, like, when I met the Resident Evil people, they were like, hey, you should be on Twitter so that way we can maybe invite you to more events, or you have at least access to certain people to talk to about stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's a good idea for business purposes and stuff. But then I never really, you know, I don't know. I get weird about stuff like that. Like I'll email people, and if I don't get a response, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I don't want to bother them, and then I just kind of move on. Resident Evil, I did a Resident Evil show on our gaming channel, and I did like 100 episodes, I think, and amidst doing all the Venom vlog stuff, but I was like following that Raccoon City movie, which turned out to be so terrible. And I know there's another Resident Evil coming out next year and a game coming out next year, maybe two games. We don't know yet, but it's I'm still have my foot in that world, but only as a fan now. I don't want to make videos on Resident Evil. I like it because of how Resident Evil I connect to that universe in a way. Like I've always wanted to write a Resident Evil comic book or even edit, be the editor on one. Or like work on a movie. Like I pitched a one time a Resident Evil prequel that was about the Trevor family that designed the mansion for Oswald E. Spencer. And I had pitched that at one point. It didn't get very far, but so, and I still have my foot kind of more like a heel in a way in that creative world where I can still reach out to a couple people and try to pitch something. I never really wanted to lose track of that either. So yeah, but so that's why like life, and then also my days have shrunk. Like for those who don't understand, dissociative identity disorder, like having DID and or being more aware of it, and now sharing time with some of the other alters, like that's been a lot of change for me because now I don't have 24-hour days anymore. I have like 10-hour days, on the average. So my days have greatly reduced, and so trying to get a lot done in 10 hours versus 24 hours. And even then, I don't think I always had full 24 hours because some of them would probably come out at times. They were just more subtle about things because, they were trying not to make me aware of certain stuff. So I think during that time, like even then I didn't have full 24 hours, but I had a lot more time. It felt like than I do now. Now I'm much more aware of the time I have each day. And it's tough because I'm like, all right, I have enough time to go to work and come home and do a painting. So now that's why Blue, once again, even though I love this job, and then working the soccer job, I love that. I really love doing that for the Orlando City soccer teams, but and the Pride team. But like for me, like that was the last time I had like a full thing. And then working at our current job, I've been there like 2-3 days a week, 4 days a week sometimes, and Blue would come in 1, 2, or 3 days, and we would just kind of alternate. But now it's me 1 day and him 4 days because I'm trying to get like a couple things done, like as far as like books I'm working on, some new things I created at the last minute that I was like, you know what, I want to get this done too. I'm doing like new versions of old books that I've made before because those are like out of print, and I'm trying to like figure out new ways to get them out there. So yeah, I've been trying to do more creative stuff and apply for creative jobs and things like that. And Blue is just like, finding his place at our current job and where he wants to go as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm grateful to you too, Enigmatic, and thank you for that information all those years ago and for staying around and still coming in and talking to me from time to time. It's meant a lot, and everyone else out there who's done the same, I greatly appreciate that too. 3 people in the chat. Hey, what's up? All right. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. Join Enigmatic in the chat. If you have questions, whatever, this is probably our last Venom Vlog Live. Like this, I will say, because of Swordsman, I mentioned him earlier, before I get to these books, which I promise I will. The Swordsman had mentioned that Cosmic Invasion is a new video game coming out that I've been keeping an eye on. It looks awesome. I love the Ninja Turtle game that company made. So their next game is this Marvel game called Cosmic Invasion. And it's like a 2D beat 'em up, like side scrolling kind of fun thing, like a Streets of Rage, kind of like those old arcade X-Men games and stuff where you have like 4 players on screen. Well, Venom is one of the characters, and it's Eddie Brock Venom. And he was like, that would be a cool thing to do, if you could cover it before the end of the Venom vlog. And I said, well, I may or may not get to it before the end of the Venom vlog. Probably before, because Venom vlog, I have so much work to put in these last like 7 episodes. Like they're going to be long and heavy episodes, and a lot of editing and stuff. So I probably won't get them all done in November, most likely, especially since we don't really have many days off coming up. But December 1st, Cosmic Invasion comes out. So whether we're done with Venom vlog or not, we will live stream Cosmic Invasion on here because of Swordsman, because he mentioned that, and I said, you know what, that'd be cool. We could probably break that up into some live episodes. So we will do Venom Vlog lives where we can talk, but I'll be playing a video game at the same time. So, my eyes will go back and forth like this. But I haven't decided if I'm going to do that here on YouTube yet or stream it on Twitch and edit it and put it on YouTube. I feel like I should just do it straight on YouTube because otherwise it's not a Venom Vlog live. And more of you might have a chance to join. So we'll see. But some books I have coming up that I'm thinking about making episodes on. Manga Spider-Man was one I was thinking about doing because there's a manga Venom, obviously, that he fights. So I may do that as a short, possibly. I'm not going to have a lot of shorts left, by the way. I have like 6 more I'm going to upload here, probably by the end of the week. And I'll be down to like 5 shorts left. So the plan was to do maybe close to 50 Venom Vlog lives. And then we have like 40 Parasite podcasts. And then we'll have 100 symbiote shorts and then 900 Venom vlogs. So well over 1,000 episodes of content of Venom on this channel. And that was always the goal, was to try to hit 1,000. And even though it won't be episode 1,000, but you could be like, all right, there's 900 Venom vlogs and 100 symbiote shorts, which, we talk about products and other things just like we do on the Venom vlogs, but just in smaller bursts. So these might make the smaller burst ones as well. So I'll probably do Manga Spider-Man as a short, and then maybe these and just cover them all together as one short. These are also other books that have manga type versions of the Venom symbiote. So this is Spider-Man Shadow Warrior. This came out recently. It's really neat. There's another one too that I bought digitally, so we'll probably cover that one too. But in this one, there's it takes place kind of in Japan, and there's a kid who becomes the new Venom or whatever. So it's not like Eddie or nothing like that. But it is this kid named Hyo, I believe, Hyo, or Yo, however you pronounce it. So that is something we'll talk about at some point. But yeah, really neat. Great artwork in here too. Great imagery. I really dig this. It's really cool the way they did this version of Venom. And then there's also Deadpool Samurai. We never talked about these. I bought these a while ago. As you can see, they were 20% off at Target, which was cool. Good deal on them. But it was volume 1 and 2, and it has Deadpool and the symbiote and him becoming, Venom Pool again, and a lot of cool stuff in here. So you can see again, more great artwork, more great imagery with the character, and just a lot of cool stuff. Fun storytelling. I think this one has Captain America and the Avengers show up at one point. Just really cool. This another fun series with Deadpool, another cool thing with symbiotes that we'll try to cover. Maybe I'll just do one episode where I summarize these 3 books into one short, and that way I can spend a minute on each, or 50 seconds on each one, and make it a close to 3-minute video. So that will be something we discuss. And for fun, I thought maybe we would do this. This is something I just saw at Walmart. I think they marked it down to $2 when I actually bought it. It was normally $12.99. But this has just a bunch of bedtime stories in it. And I thought it would be fun to read the Venom one in here, where Miles, Gwen, and Spider-Man, Peter, they all team up to fight against Venom. And it's just, it's Eddie Brock for sure, but he's a villain. So it's not it's not a deep story by any means. It's got some fun imagery in it. I love the artwork for sure. But it's kind of like a bedtime story. So I thought about doing maybe a short where I kind of read this. So that way we do the Chillers episode, and those are our 3 bedtime story reading long episodes, and then do one short one featuring this storyline. So yeah, that's just some of the stuff we're going to try to cover before the end. Like I said, Mayday Parker, I would like to do an episode where I talk about her world and her interaction with the Venom symbiote and the Carnage symbiote, because in that one it bonds to Peter Parker, I believe for the first time in comic book history. I know it bonded to Ben Reilly at one point and made Spider Carnage, but it bonds with her dad, and makes him Carnage, which is kind of cool. And then I believe Normie Osborn, who we've talked about a lot on this channel, with the little goblinette, red goblin thing. There's stuff with him as an adult, he's a friends with Mayday Parker, and there's symbiote stuff with him as well, and goblin stuff too. So yeah, that's a whole cool little world, and I thought about maybe discussing that before the end also. So yeah, I mean that's what I've been, trying to do, trying to get done for you guys, and try to, cover before the end of the show. And I can see, like, even though I had people vote on this, we might be, I'm going to give it like another like 15 minutes maybe. I'll try to talk about like the movie universe and some things. But I was hoping a couple more people would show up tonight so I can get some interaction with them. But that's okay. Like I said, life stuff always comes up, but hopefully you'll watching this later. And if we missed you, I'm real sorry. But we'll probably go to at least 9 o'clock. So another like 20 minutes. So I'm gonna try to keep talking, keep going. Magic the Gathering was a lot of fun to collect. Thanks to all those people watching those videos. We still have a couple more Lego videos that are going to post up on the shorts. I think like 3 more maybe. So that'll take you up to episode 91 of the Symbiote shorts. And then I'm going to do episode 92 and 93 are the gift bundle, the Spider-Man gift bundle, which I did not think we were going to get because they were selling online for like $200 or whatever. Normal price is like $80 or $90. And I was like, man, I'm not spending that for these cards. Like, I'm a fan and I would like to have at least one of everything. I didn't buy a collector's box because that's just way too out of our price range and ridiculously priced in my opinion. But even at the regular prices, people were paying like $1,000 for some of them. That's way too much. But even at $400, I'm like, man, come on, $400 for a box of cards. It's ridiculous. And so I don't like when companies like expect that of their fan base. It's like, whatever. I know there's a chance to win a card in there that could be worth, $10,000 or whatever, but the odds of you getting it are slim. So, go down, charge people like $250 at the most for a box of cards. But that's just my personal feeling on it. Blue luckily feels that way too. Like a box of cards, even though he likes buying stuff, like he does not like, spending too much on it, which thank goodness, because we'd be way more broke than we already are. But Magic the Gathering was a lot of fun, and I have some of the cards here because Ben, but Blue wanted to keep them handy because he might rainbow these. Like he's got the 2 Ben Rileys, the alternate art one. I pulled I think most of these. Actually, I might have pulled all of them. But because he didn't open too many of these, he opened a couple packs, but not that much. I was hoping some of his luck would rub off on us, but no, he didn't get that much. Like we didn't get too many new cards when he was opening his packs. But we got the Ben Riley alternate art. We got the Chrome version of it, or like the foil version. We got the Clone Saga as a regular, the extended art version, and the foil version. And then he got the standard Ben Riley and foil of that. So I think that's all 4 Ben Rileys. And I believe the same with the Clone Saga. I think we got both versions of that too. So kind of a complete rainbow there of Ben Riley stuff. The Kane one, I think he's trying to work on now, where he's trying to get all 4 versions of Kane. But that was fun to collect. I mean, it was the event I went to was a lot of fun. It helped me make a lot of content because going to that event with my friend Nate at Disney Springs was just a blast. Like we had a great time there, and meeting Randy, the artist that was there, was awesome. So if you haven't checked those out, those are on our shorts as well. And I realized, like, man, we can get to 100 episodes because we were on episode like 50 of the shorts. And I was like, we can get up to episode 100 real easily if I just do 1 pack of cards from the Play Booster box as each episode, and just kind of like, get them out there like that, because I both like watching long-term videos where people unbox stuff and short-term stuff, but Blue specifically likes watching shorts. He almost actively looks for people opening things 1 pack at a time. He likes that because he'll do it on his lunch break. He'll watch like 1 or 2 of them or whatever, so he doesn't always have time to sit and watch a full like 30-minute unboxing episode. So I try to, he's been great, like, learning from him as well. Like that's one of the communication things about us, in a system, is that like his personal tastes, they seem to skew younger than like how I would view things. Like I would be like, well, I like long-term stuff. I like to lock in and watch someone's full video and from beginning to end. And whether they're talking about, a real world issue or a political issue or a movie or whatever they're talking about, a comic book, I like to try to fully hear them out if I can, as long as the video is not like, I don't watch live streamers too much because some of them are on for hours and hours and hours, and I'm just like, I don't have time to do that. I might, if it's a friend, I'll put their live stream on in the background. Like Dave, for example, I'll put that on in the background, the vodka stream, and then but I have to do other stuff. I have to draw, or I have to, I have to work, edit my book or something like that. So, what's up? Hey, Rips with Rod. What's up? What's Rips with Rob? Hey, Seek, are you looking forward to the new Spider-Man movie next year? Dude, thanks for the question. Awesome. Yeah, I did want to talk about some of the Spider-Man universe movie stuff. So that's a great transition. So now that we've talked about the books and, like, what we're going to try to cover before the end of the Venom vlog, let's talk about Spider-Man. That new movie, I'm so excited for. The fact that the Hulk is in it and Punisher is in it is just awesome. And I'm always against like things like that leaking out there or getting out there. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm trying, like, in my head, trying to piece together what could the story be, what's going on. Is Punisher trying to take down the Hulk and Spider-Man's like stuck in the middle? Like what's the story gonna be? And I'm very excited. I really love that they're doing a lot with Punisher next year with Marvel, and having John come back to play him is fantastic. Like, he's a great Punisher in my opinion. I love the series, although the second season had like ups and downs for me, but overall I really love what they do with that character. But the fact that we're gonna get a special that's focused on him that might be like an hour long next year, I'm excited for that. And then I'm also excited for the him returning in Daredevil, Born Again season two, and the fact that that show is even back, and possibly having other, of the Netflix Marvel characters in it, is I'm so pumped, like so pumped to see him build a team. I would love Moon Knight to be in it. I was thinking about that the other day. I said, creatively it would be so awesome to squeeze Moon Knight into whatever story they're telling where they're trying to take down the Kingpin, and then you have like Moon Knight show up, but he's in the black costume because it's Jake Lockley based on the end of the first season, and you can do a whole episode where you kind of deal with that, where it's Jake and he's really hardcore and he's really brutal, and Matt's trying to stop him, and then eventually you break it down to where at the end of the episode, Steven and Mark come out and they realize, holy crap, we're still Moon Knight, we're still tethered to Khonshu, and we got to deal with that. And then that would give him like a good middle space to like send him off. It'll get him more exposure because I think more people will watch Daredevil than probably watched Moon Knight, unfortunately. Although Moon Knight got pretty good ratings or reviews, but not stellar. It was like right in the middle of all the Marvel shows and movies and stuff. So I would love to see, that, and then maybe set that up for another, like a Moon Knight special, and just give him another 1 hour thing where you can wrap up some of those threads from the first season, and then also deal with Bushman. So I don't know. I'm always thinking about where we could put Moon Knight in, and Ghost Rider and stuff. But yeah, Spider-Man, that movie looks like, so far, like what I've seen of some of the behind the scenes photos, which I try to avoid, but I do have some people that send me stuff. It all looks cool, and I'm very excited. I mean, a street level Spider-Man story where Hulk's involved, so Spider-Man will have to use his science and his brains. Like, all of that is just sounds like a great thing. And also, it's the director, I think, from Shang-Chi, and I liked Shang-Chi. I know, like, that movie got like a mixed kind of feeling, I think, from because that was at the time where, oh, Marvel, everything they do is bad and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but Shang-Chi was fun. Like, I thought it told an interesting story, and it tied back into the traditional Mandarin more, without making him like super goofy looking. And I kind of like what they did with Shang-Chi. And I like to go the guy who plays Shang-Chi in the cast from that movie. So I'm interested to see what kind of fun he'll bring to Spider-Man for sure. Do you think we'll get Tom Hardy back as Venom again? I'm sure if you ask Tom Hardy that, he'll say, like, I would be open to it, but he'll say, the way we ended the last movie, I'll have to let someone come up with how it's possible. I had heard at one point that that Tom Hardy Venom was possibly gonna show up in the third Spider-Verse movie, but since they are changing things, and even though they said, oh, we have the movie done, we're just doing voice acting and stuff and recording and doing that, that was obviously like either a lie, or before they had to make a bunch of changes, because that movie was delayed twice. It's already should have been out twice now, the third Spider-Verse movie, and now we're not getting it till like 2027. So I had heard that there was possibility to have him appear in that, and then he'll lend the voice of Venom, or they'll use, like, lines from the movie to Frankenstein, him talking as Venom, but I don't know for sure. Obviously you never know when you're hearing stuff, whether it's true or not. But I would like to see Tom come back, like, in one aspect. But then someone brought up the idea of Joe Manganiello. Sorry, I'm butchering his last name, but like he played Flash Thompson in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and he obviously became a bigger actor and stuff, and he's a great actor too, I think. And he was going to be Deathstroke, I think, in the Zack Snyder universe of DC. Someone mentioned that he should show up in Secret Wars as Agent Venom, as like a really deep cut reference, where it's like, hey, dude, that's Flash Thompson from the Tobey Maguire universe, and he somehow has a sample of the Venom suit, which makes sense because if you remember, I was writing at one point with some friends of mine a Spider-Man 4 script that we were trying to pitch to Sony, when we were working at Sony, that had the sliver of symbiote that Connors kept. And our story was Connors using that sliver to help him regrow limbs and create the serum that would become the lizard serum. So it was a way to keep that symbiote around and maybe still do Carnage and stuff in that universe. So yeah, that little sliver that Doc Connors had, you could easily in like one line of dialogue, he'll be like, yeah, like, I went to see my old professor, Dr. Connors, and and they show that actor, from the Tobey Maguire movies, and he's like, and he was experimenting with this thing he got from Peter Parker, and I bonded with it, and I became, a Venom or whatever, or Connors got a job working for the government. He left being a teacher and became a government scientist, and he turned himself into a lizard, and I lost like my legs in the process. And so his experiment they used on me and turned me into Agent Venom so I could go after and stop Connors. Like all of that stuff. There's so many things you could do, right? Like there's a million things. Maybe they're not all good ideas, but I was just like, that would be a cool cameo though. But obviously seeing Tom as Venom I think would get the biggest reaction as well. Sorry, all of a sudden I got like an itchy nose, and so I apologize. Rips says, well, Rob has, heck yeah, seeing John come back as Punisher hyped me up too. I love the show, even though the second season wasn't as strong. More John Punisher content is always awesome. Yeah, I agree. The second season had some good things in it, but season one with like Micro and like everything they were doing with that story, I really dug it. And him getting his revenge at the end and just beating the guy's face in. And then what he does to Billy's face, like dragging his face across the glass in the carousel, like all that was really cool. It was written really well. It was very poetic how he ruins, he basically kills Billy because after he becomes Jigsaw in a way, but he breaks his face and cuts him up in the carousel where Frank's family dies. And since Billy was part of his family, and you putting that power in Frank's hand to be the one to kill essentially a family member of his now at the same spot, it's like there's so many things that I was like, this works on so many levels as a story. But season two, I feel like everything they did with Billy and the nurse that was helping him or psychiatrist that was helping him was all terrible. Like all that, I would have been like, dude, no, like I didn't like any of that. But all the Frank stuff in season two, where he had to protect the girl and you had the preacher coming after him, I was like, okay, that stuff was kind of neat. But the rest I wasn't a big fan of. Yeah, Moon Knight feature is much needed. I would love a Moon Knight feature. I would love, I know the guy who made the Moon Knight and the Werewolf by Night one. I know he mostly does the music for the Marvel stuff. Because he did Fantastic Four, I think, recently too. I would love him to come back and do something with Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night, start setting up, Midnight Suns. I would have said, like, I know this Blade thing isn't working out for Marvel. So to me, that's what I would do. I would have him, whether he directs them all or not, because obviously he's probably busy, but have him in control of a smaller corner of the Marvel Universe and be like, hey, every year you're going to work with somebody to release a black and white feature, which maybe we can release later in color. Where you're going to focus on, we did Werewolf by Night and Man Thing. The next one you're going to do is Blade, and make that a black and white movie. And then maybe we'll, put Moon Knight in there or something like that. And then you're going to do Ghost Rider and you're going to introduce like Lilith or something, or do Blade and introduce Lilith and then do Ghost Rider. And then after you do like 3 or 4 of them, his Avengers movie is Midnight Suns and do like a full 2-hour feature of it, whether you put on Disney Plus or not or whatever. But I think he should be kind of in control of that and do all these things, because you could do like a 1950s, Evel Knievel kind of thing with Johnny Blaze. If you want to go the Johnny Blaze route, you could do something more modern, obviously too. But yeah, there's so many things. I loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when they brought Robbie Reyes in, and that actor, I got to meet him a couple times out in L.A. Super awesome guy, and he played in the Terminator movie, I think too, and I know he would have loved to come back. I think at one point they were going to do a series and they canceled it, unfortunately. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much you can do with Ghost Rider, but I would love to see all that stuff, like Midnight Suns stuff in there. Thoughts on Spider-Man Noir that's supposed to come out next year? Now, that's a great question too. That's also something I'm looking forward to. The costume looks great. I saw like five screenshots and a small like teaser trailer, and I don't really want to see any more. I want to wait for the show to come out. But I love the idea of like a retired older Peter Parker in like the mob, 1920s, 30s era, who kind of walked away from the suit years ago and is so obsessed with, helping people and doing the right thing that he becomes more like Batman than Spider-Man. So he never got married, he's just kind of like this loner. And then a villain from his past does something that he goes, crap, I thought I handled that. And I clearly didn't. And even though I'm an old man now with spider powers, I still have to deal with this. And that way you can have him trying to deal with it as an older man, whether he wears a costume or not, but dealing with it as a detective, and then flashing back to when he fought this villain when he was younger and he had the costume. So like there's so many things that that of that show that I'm would love to see, but I'm also trying not to write the story of the show before I watch it, because I think that's how a lot of times people get disappointed, is they go in with these expectations. And that's one thing I learned about being here on YouTube too, is that setting expectations. That was something I never applied to my real life, like when I was going to a job or working at a job, where I would go like, all right, here are my goals and here's the expectation. And if the expectation doesn't get met, here's how I have to handle it, better, better than last time, or get better each time. And I think expectations are a big thing. So when you write the movie in your head after you see a couple trailers or a bunch of trailers, and then you have there's a chance you're going to go into it thinking you're going to see that and come out really upset. Like kind of how I did with Welcome to Raccoon City. Speaking of Resident Evil earlier, I went in going like, okay, I'm going to give this director a chance. He says all the right things in the interviews, even though I should know better. I've had PR training before, and and interview training, like stuff you should say or shouldn't say when you're being asked questions. And I'm like, there's a chance that he's just blowing smoke, or he's a fan, but not like, you're never going to be a fan like a fan is, to an extent, who knows all the lore and all that stuff. And that was very clear when you watch that movie, Welcome to Raccoon City, because I think although I thought it was a crazy idea to mix the story of Resident Evil 1 and 2 into one movie, because 2 and 3 work better as one movie than 1 and 2, because there's like a 3-month gap in the games between 1 and 2. So to put them in one movie, I was like, oh, that's a crazy idea, but I'm interested to see how it plays out. But I think I was too fair on that movie on some levels, because when I went, I was like excited, and I brought my friend Nate, and I always talk about Resident Evil with Nate, and Nate's like, I never seen the movies, so I'm interested to see this one, so let's give it a shot. And we both left not liking Resident Evil, but the cool thing about Nate is he's like, I told him about Weapons, the guy who made Weapons, he's making the next Resident Evil movie, and I'm sure it'll be a little bit better. I heard it's set during the Raccoon City outbreak, but it's like a side story, kind of how like Resident Evil Outbreak was, and it's going to follow a new character as the city is overrun by monsters, and that I'm totally okay with, because that kind of reminds me of Fallout. Like Fallout did that, where they were like, all right, we're going to pick a point in continuity of the games, and we're going to follow one specific ending of one of the games, and we're going to do that story and set up another season. And I'm excited for season 2. But I always like, because that's hard to do, where you're like, all right, we're going to set this in the continuity of the games. A lot of people don't even try to do that. They just try to reinterpret everything. And I feel like that's why a lot of things aren't great. You have some that are good, like I think Sonic is a fun adaptation of the character, and the first Mortal Kombat is a fun one. The new one looks like a fun Mortal Kombat story. But yeah, to see someone go, all right, we're going to pick this point in the continuity and tell a story here so that it doesn't disrupt the other stuff going around it. I think that's pretty neat. I think that was Paul Anderson's original goal with the original Resident Evil movies, because his first movie, he was like, I'm going to tell a story that takes place in the mansion, but before stars and everyone get there, and I'm going to show how the outbreak happens. And then Resident Evil Zero comes out and tells you how the outbreak happens in the video game universe. So it kind of ruined his movie. So he was like, okay, now I can just go off book and do whatever I want now. But yeah, Spider-Man Noir, I'm excited for. I'm excited for Spider-Verse. To like, let me tie it back into something we hadn't talked about yet, which is the whole Sony Venom and movie universe. obviously I never did a full review of Craven on here, or I think we did a live chat. I can't remember. I don't even know if we did that. But like Craven and Madam Web, we didn't really cover. We reviewed Morbius, and we reviewed obviously all three Venom movies and followed the production of all three Venom movies. And we followed a little bit about, Craven, a little bit about Madam Web, and more though about Morbius for sure. Because that one I was actually excited for. I was hoping Morbius would be good, and it turned out to be okay. Like it got ripped apart. It's not like a. I think the Venom movies I on average gave like 7 or 8s out of 10, because I thought they were fine. They worked for what they try to achieve, for the most part. I mean, yeah, there's things that we all as fans would probably do differently, but taking them for what they were, I didn't mind them. But especially with the performances by Tom and stuff, like I really liked his performance as the character of Eddie. But in the case of like Craven, I didn't really like Aaron Taylor Johnson's performance of Craven. I like him as an actor. I'm a big fan of his. I loved Bullet Train. I loved Kick Ass. Like I like a lot of his stuff. Him as Quicksilver and everything. Like he's a good actor. I like the guy a lot. I did not like the Craven movie. I thought the first couple minutes were gave me a little bit of hope. I'm like, okay, he's got the Russian accent. He's going around. He's fighting. But then it just kind of devolves into just a mess. And the way they did Rhino was kind of weak. I didn't like that either. And that whole final battle was so bad looking and stuff. So yeah, I didn't really like that. Morbius, I gave more. I would say maybe it's like a 5 or 6 out of 10. Craven is like a 2 or 3 out of 10, since I never got to review it. But that's how I feel. And Madam Web, I've still not seen to this day, so I've never watched it. So I can't really give a review of that. I feel like I put it on because it went to a streaming service, and I feel like I put it on and I saw a couple minutes of it, and I just kind of was doing other things, and I wasn't paying attention. So I never sat down and watched even, I don't think, a full scene in that movie. I believe I did have it on in the background to kind of hear the gist of some of it. And I feel like I made some faces like of dialogue. I would cringe a little because I do remember more of the plot than the trailers gave. Like so I know it must have been on, but I did not sit and watch it. Not to my recollection. I think I was doing other things. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of what Sony did overall, which is a shame because when people crap on Sony, I always try to remind them. I'm like, yeah, but they made the original Spider-Man movies with a great team of people, obviously, and Sam Raimi and stuff, like so, and great actors and everything. So they're capable of doing good stuff, and Sony makes other stuff that are great. I just feel like with Resident Evil, I think they're the distributor of Resident Evil. Like, there's other film companies that like make Resident Evil stuff, and they bring it to Sony, and Sony distributes it. So they have like some kind of licensing or distribution deal. So they'll put their name on it, but those are never good for the most part. I hope the next Resident Evil is good. But with Spider-Man, I felt like they started doing that with the Spider-Man villain movies. They felt like these outsourced projects that they didn't really care about, and or they had weird reasons for choosing them. Like Madam Web, they were like, "Oh, let's try to squeeze in an all-girl superhero team," which is like, that's fine. You want to do it. You want to do those Spider Women characters, Aranya and all them. Like, that's great that you want to do that, but actually make a movie about that. Like, I always think of like the Slingers. Like, I love the Slingers, and I actually at one point really tried to pitch like a Slingers project, but I just didn't get anywhere because obviously those characters are very deeply unknown. But once the Spider-Verse started coming out, I was like, well, this could be a cool way to do the Spider-Verse because these guys, like Miles, could be from a universe where Peter Parker was, ousted as Spider-Man and was arrested. And now and maybe he's in jail for something he didn't do. And you have these 4 kids wearing these costumes that Peter kind of invented or were ideas he didn't go with. And they're going out there trying to, prove that Peter Parker's innocent. And that was kind of like one of my ideas for the Slingers. And that was how I was gonna tie it in to the Spider-Verse, was that their Spider-Man is still alive. It's not like Miles where his passed away because of the anomaly that created him with the spider going to a different universe that bit him. This was something that it's still fine. Like, their Spider-Man he's just in jail. And so their world is kind of falling apart because he's like this anchor being essentially that got framed by Norman Osborn. And now these kids are trying to right that wrong. And so it was a little different in the comic. It didn't have like the Black Marvel as the villain in it and stuff. Like, it was a little different than that, like my approach to it. But I was trying to tie it in the Spider-Verse. But yeah, so like I was thinking, like, what if that movie got made and they said, hey, they're not going to be the slingers until the last like 15 minutes of the movie or 10 minutes of the movie, and you got to do this whole thing with them. You got to stretch that out because of either the budget limitations or whatever. And first thing I would say is, all right, budget limitations fine, but we got to still find a way to do this where they actually fight crime and have a couple scenes, even if there's this like one in the beginning and then one in the middle and one at the end. Like we should at least still do that, and figure out how to make that a reality. And I feel like sometimes these filmmakers they get this dream role because a lot of them get picked and they've only made a few smaller movies and they get picked by a big company to do something big. They feel like they don't have a voice to stand up and go, well, I don't like that idea. They just become like, okay, well, this is my shot. I don't want to cause any waves. And I understand that mentality. And I can be a people pleaser at times when it comes to working for people and stuff. But that's not always the best approach. And I've gotten better at it thanks to Blue and some of the other alters who do not take that for an answer. They will say they'll be a little bit more stubborn and say we can make this happen. Just give us a chance. So yeah, dude, Swordsman coming in. Hello, no notifications. So I came to channel at 8 my time. Hopefully I didn't miss too much. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I've been on for an hour. I was hoping I was mentioning you earlier. I gave you a shout out and talked about how many comments you left on my videos over the years and how much I appreciate you and how much I was hoping you would show up. So I'm glad that you popped in and I was gonna wrap up and end, but we had a couple people come in, Rob and Enigmatic, and now you. So I'll stick around for a little bit longer. Let me get something to drink though, because my mouth is completely dry. But yeah, I'll catch you up on what we went over, just like real briefly. And then we're in the middle of talking about the Sony movie universe overall. So give me 1 second, and I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah. Sorry for the slurping too. Blue bought us a big gulp on his way home from work because I didn't have any soda in the house, and we're trying to cut back, but I've been getting migraines again lately as I've been painting and doing stuff. So he'll sometimes buy me because we get like points on 7-Eleven. So they're free drinks. So he'll come home with a drink for me and put it in the fridge, which is really cool. But yeah, sorry about the no notification. I'm really sorry. I feel like that happens every time I stream from my phone. And by the way, thanks for the thumbs up. Whoever gave me that, I appreciate you. I feel like every time I go live from my phone, I have people tell me that. And when I go live from like StreamYard or something like that, they will get the notification. So I apologize. I'm doing this on my phone because my laptop has been a little wonky. But yeah, I was just wrapping up how I felt about the Sony movie universe and how like I never watched Madam Web. Craven, I give like a 2 out of 10. Morbius, I gave like a 5 or 6 out of 10. And then the Venom movies, you guys know my scores. I think it was like 7 or 7.5 for the first movie, and then a 7 for the second movie, and then like or maybe it was 8 for the first movie, 7 for the second movie, 7.5 for the third movie. It was something like that. But they were all between 7 and 8, I believe. So yeah, so we were just kind of giving our feelings on that, and I was asked about the Spider-Verse, movie, the new Spider-Man movie coming out next year with Punisher, and how excited we are for that, and how Spider-Man Noir is coming, and what I've seen of that so far looks cool. So yeah, we talked about that. I did mention some of the things I'm going to try to make episodes on before wrapping up everything. So I'm going to try to do a Marvel's, like a symbiote short on Marvel Rivals, King in Black. This issue just came out recently. It's a digital comic, so it's been out for a while on Marvel Unlimited, but they just made a print version. So you'll probably see a short on that before the end. I have a couple more Lego shorts to do. I have a couple long form videos that I'm going to do, like on this one here, Separation Anxiety, with the symbiote and Purple Man and all that. So I talked about that a little bit. I was saying how I was trying to get Randy on soon so we could discuss Ben Reilly being in the current Amazing Spider-Man book again, and them doing actually a good job with them. And Spider-Man 94, which introduces Kane to the animated universe. So I'm going to try to get Randy in, and we'll talk about that. And then I'm going to do a whole episode dedicated to Peter David, rest in peace, and his symbiote Spider-Man runs, including his last one, which was 2099, because we never covered those fully on the show. And then I also want to do a Gwenom episode where we talk about Gwenom and her storyline where she became Gwenom. Her symbiote recently came back in the comic book, so I'll probably mention that at the end of that episode. And then also cover that Mary Jane Carnage versus Gwenom King in Black miniseries that we never discussed. So I'll try to do all that in one episode, and then I might also try to do all the Mayday Parker stuff in one episode, because she had interacted, she interacted with symbiotes in her universe, and including a one that a Carnage that bonded with Peter Parker, which is her dad. So I thought that would be a fun one to talk about. We're also going to try to do symbiote shorts on manga Spider-Man, the one that came out before, where he's like a samurai and raised by samurais and trained by them, and his master, like, who the guy who killed his master is Venom, and his master was also like his uncle or whatever, how they did it. So we're going to probably talk about that, and then also these three stories. I'm going to make one short on all three of these, where it's Spider-Man Shadow Warrior, where this Japanese kid becomes Venom, and then Deadpool Samurai, which has some more Venom Pool stuff in it, and they're all mangas. So yeah, those, and then I'm also going to try to salvage the Chillers episode, because Chillers, we never finished Chillers. I had the last like 7 chapters of that book that I read, edited. I was starting to edit it, and then my computer got corrupted, or it was just dying. Like everything, it wasn't working. It was going super slow. That was the last, like, the all-in-one PC that I bought like in 2017, and it lasted all the way to like 2023. So I saved all those files on an external hard drive, and I'm slowly getting them off and like rebuilding that edit. I was so close to finishing it. I'm so mad, and now I have to start over from scratch. So it's taking a lot of work. That was supposed to be the next episode of Venom Vlog, but I'm working on it. So I want to try to wrap up Chillers, which is the retelling of the origin of the symbiote bonding with Spider-Man and then going to Eddie Brock in like novella format. So I'm trying to finish that too. That was me. Sorry, my time zone was off. That's okay, man. Well, I don't play Rivals. I did like the Phoenix Venom. Yeah, I know. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to do a short on this. I thought that was a cool moment. I mean, I didn't find this issue particularly well written, but I also found enough cool things in here that I'm like, this is worth discussing on an episode. It does that thing where we talk about where it's like power stacking, okay, now we have a Phoenix King in Black Venom Eddie Brock, and we have a blade that has the power of this, and it's just that kind of stuff that I know is cool in concept, but sometimes for me doesn't always work out in execution. But I thought this one was pretty entertaining, so for that like in that regard. So I will talk about that some. And yeah, I've played Marvel Rivals a little bit in the beginning, but Blue has taken over from there. But I don't know even if because I know he wanted to play the zombie thing, and I did too, but I don't even know if that's still going. And then I know that the new season starts tomorrow with Rogue and Gambit and like their wedding. So yeah, so they're probably gonna lean away for symbiotes for a while and focus more on X-Men stuff. But yeah, I think that was like, also, isn't Emma Frost like the Queen in Black in that one or something? So I don't know. I'll have to look into that lore a little bit before I make this video. But yeah, I'm gonna make a short on it. But you'll see 2 more shorts about Magic the Gathering Spider-Man, because we did the gift bundle. So I'm going to do one video where it's like unboxing and showing everything you get in the gift bundle, and then the second video will be like the collector pack from the gift bundle. Even though I didn't really get anything great in it, so I don't know. We'll see. But I'll share that soon too. And then there's some more Legos in shorts that we're gonna do as well. And I still have not finished, me or Ben or Blue. We have not finished building the Lego Daily Bugle. So, but that we may just do one more episode to show that being completed, because I was filming it like bag by bag, but that got like a little too arduous and a little too tedious at times. So we'll see. We might try to summarize it into like 2 more shorts, because I'm also running out of shorts now. We're going to stop at episode 100, and so yeah. But all this stuff, like, we'll have it all done. Originally I was aiming for the end of October. I think even before that I was aiming for the end of July. But just life, like I said, I exist in 10-hour days now at the most. We had a kidney stone recently. The pain was so bad that I actually didn't front for 2.5 days. So I went from like a Saturday to a Tuesday or something crazy like that, or Saturday to like a Monday night. And the pain was so bad that I couldn't deal with it. And when pain is that much for us, as like almost instinctively, Blue or one of the other alters kind of takes over, because their pain threshold's a little bit higher, so they can endure it a little bit more and still get us to function. And I'm not kidding. Like, we went to the hospital, and then they also, like, we were in the hospital for like that day, got sent home with some pain meds. I had to drive to work and let them know like I was still alive and okay, because my phone had died. So I had to, luckily I had like enough battery. The hospital charged my phone enough. I Ubered to work to get my car and to let them know I was okay, and then got in the car, drove to get my prescription medicine, and I blinked in and out during all that. So I'm sure Green or someone else helped out. We got our medicine, we got home, and then it took like a whole day or two for the pain meds to actually kick in. And boy, oh boy, like it was so like my vision got blurry how bad it hurt. And I've had a kidney stone before, but this was really bad. It was big too. So yeah, so that was an awful couple weeks. So I didn't get anything done during that time either. Which is why a lot of these Play Booster single episodes just started posting up, because for like 2 weeks I couldn't do hardly anything. And when I did come out, it was like I would update on Instagram again just to let people know, and to kind of, I use Instagram more as a journal, so I can keep track of things. And like if I go to like my therapy, like when I go to therapy, I could be like, hey, on this day, this is how I felt, and I don't fully remember that, but now that I'm reading it, it's whatever. Before I used to use Instagram as like, okay, I ate this today, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling well. Is it something because of something I ate? Like I use Instagram for different things. It's not so much to just like, it is to connect with people, but it's also to just like document like what I'm going through sometimes. Blue's Instagram is way more fun. If you guys want to follow him, it's Blue Da Rapper, DA Rapper, all one word, Blue Da Rapper. He just posts fun stuff, like memes and like these little robots that he collects, these little transformer blocky things. He's got like so many, they're all on the wall back there. You can see he bought shelves to put them on. So yeah, he's got a bunch of them. Actually, he just got this one. Yeah, I gotta show this one off. This one is like, it's a combined one. Like, so they made all the vehicles of the Constructicons as like little cars like this. Like they made like each of them like that. And then you bought like a little connector set for like $10 that has like the arms and head and stuff of Devastator, and an instruction booklet on how to put all the vehicles together and make Devastator, so that he's like in scale size of some of the smaller figures. And I'm like, that's insane. And right now he's building Bruticus. So he has like some of the vehicles that will eventually form to make Bruticus next. So just really fun. Like Blues love for Transformers is cool, because like I like Transformers too. So I hope you get the LP Venom. You deserve it. The LP Venom. What dot am I not connecting there? Oh, yeah, you're talking about in Magic. Yeah, I didn't find the Lethal Protector Venom. In all the stuff we opened, I'll spoil that for you now. We did not get that card. It was insane. I was like, really? That's the one? We're only missing from all the boxes we bought and everything, because we bought one Play Booster box, we bought 2 regular bundles, 1 gift bundle. I think Blue bought like 10 single packs. And what else? And then we got like a pre-release deck and then one other thing, I think. So we tried to get like one of everything. The bundle we got 2 of, because it's just how it worked out, because we went to that event. And we got a couple collector's packs and stuff. So like of all the stuff we got, we're only missing like 3 puzzle pieces. And then out of the main set, like 7 cards. So 10 cards total out of the ones we actually wanted to collect. But now we're going to try to go and get all the extended art cards as well. Not the alternate art cards, but just the extended ones that show some of the comic book artwork, like Lethal Protector and stuff. So yeah, we're hey, we're going to keep trying. We're just going to buy singles though, because at this point we're missing so few of the stuff we want, and the singles are so cheap for the most part that we're just going to slowly collect the singles now. Hey, what's up? Say what's up, dude. Long time no see indeed. I know. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for the 2 thumbs up, and everyone here. Thank you so much. Again, I mentioned Swordsman earlier. This is not now officially going to be the last Venom vlog live. It was at one point. And I think we covered mostly everything I wanted to talk about in this episode. We'll talk a little bit about the future of Venom and outside of comics. But we talked about the Sonyverse. We talked about some of the comics I'm going to talk about coming up. Let's talk about some of the new comics we'll get into. But I want to mention that the final Venom vlog live episodes are going to start airing in December. And I'm probably going to just stream right here to YouTube. We're going to play Marvel Cosmic Invasion. and that was something Swordsman brought up. I did not know that game was going to come out by the end of the year. So when they announced that it was December 1st, I got very excited because I'm like, you know what? Even if by some miracle I get Venom Vlog done by the end of November, I'll probably have most of it done, but not all of it now that I'm having to edit these other videos that are taking really long. So looks like we're going to go to the end of the year with Venom Vlog, and we're going to do at least 5 or 6 episodes live where we'll do live streams here on YouTube, not on Twitch. We'll play it here and we'll talk about, Eddie and Venom in that universe, and we'll play that game. So we'll get more time to interact, and I'll try to announce the nights we play those games ahead of time so that like Swordsman and other people can be there if they're able to. But we'll try to do like, Mondays or Tuesday nights at around like 8 to 9 p.m. We'll play for an hour, and we'll just try to like do a couple episodes of it, because I don't know, the game might not take, a week to beat. If we play like an hour or 90 minutes a night, we probably get through the game pretty fast. Who knows? I don't know. The Ninja Turtle game took me like it took a while to beat, I guess. So we'll see. And I know they'll do DLC later, but I don't, we'll just do what we can with the main game for now. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, Swordsman. So I'll try to give you plenty of notice, and I'll try to do another vote thing so you guys can vote on what nights we play when that game comes out. I don't know if I'll try to play it December 1st. We'll have to see what our work schedule is, but we'll try to play it immediately, and not linger and wait too long. So we'll figure it out for you guys for sure. But I'm looking forward to that too. I've been eyeing that game and watching it for a while. If you go on Amazon, you will see that there is merchandise made for that game, and there is a baseball tee. I'm a big fan of baseball tees. So I have one in my wish list, or not wish list, but like in my cart that I'm waiting to pull the trigger on. But it is Venom, and it's him as the 16-bit sprite version of that character from that game, and it's him like like from the side, kind of with his teeth gnashing and like his arms up, like rotating. But it's him on the shirt, and it's like a baseball team. You get it different colors, but they do that like Marvel versus Capcom blue for the sleeves on one of them. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get that one. That's the one I'm gonna get for sure. So I'm probably gonna get that shirt, and I think they have like a cup, like the cups that the insulated, the ones that keep your drinks cold. They have one that has like the choose your character roster on the side of it. So I was thinking about getting those just to have them because they look cool. And I need a new cup. The Moon Knight one we've kind of worn out. So yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. That game looks like fun, and it's Eddie Brock. And I know like there's been a lot of rumors lately about the Insomniac Venom game still being a thing. We'll see if that ends up becoming true or not. I would love that. I would love it even more if it was Eddie Brock. The one thing I did not like about that game was half of what they did with the symbiote stuff. Like I did still like some of that game with the symbiote stuff. Craven was my favorite part of Insomniac Spider-Man 2. Some of the Spider-Man stuff was neat. Some of the symbiote stuff was neat, but it felt like let's throw in a lot of the stuff from the comics that we don't understand why it's in the comics. Like, I know I was critical of Donny Cates' run, but when I really liked what he was doing or appreciated what he was doing, I would say that. And so some of the stuff I appreciated, I felt like they could have translated that into the game, and they didn't, because they took a lot of those ideas, with Venom and like the King in Black and the wings and just like the invasion and all that stuff. And they took a lot of that, and I don't think they did it super well. Same with like the movie, like The Last Dance. They mentioned Null, and they kind of set up like a Null return or movie or appearance in something else Marvel related, and who knows if that's ever going to be a thing. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I would love for them to do a Venom animated cartoon, picking up where the movies left off. That's asking for way too much, but at least that way you could, I'm sure Tom, I don't know if he would come back and do the voice, but you could find a way to bring the symbiote back and bond with Eddie and do Null, and you could wrap that story up if you really cared. But I think ultimately Sony realizes like, we have a fan base for this, but it's not a huge fan base. So we're just going to end it. And whether we do something with it again or not, it doesn't matter, because probably not enough people care to keep it going. And probably business-wise, it's probably the smarter move. I have no idea how Tom Hardy fumbled that hard on Last Dance. I really don't, given that he seemed to really get Venom. Yeah, I mean, like there are some things in it. Like I love Kelly, I love Tom. they made some creative choices in that movie. Like, and I'm not trying to be political about that. Like, there's some things I didn't like, and there were some things I did. There were some neat character moments, and then there was just some stuff as a third movie you were just like I don't know, like I wanted. I know they probably just couldn't make it work to get Michelle Williams in it, but I'm like, yeah, I feel like Anne should have been somewhere, mentioned somehow. Like, I know at the end of the second movie, he was kind of like, all right, Anne is my past, and we're leaving, and we're going to this beach, and it's just going to be me and Venom from now on. So they kind of conclude the Anne thing in a way, but and I like Dan. I think he's great and everything, but I still was hoping that Eddie would end up with Anne again. Like, I'm like, if you're gonna give him a happy ending, in a way, like that seemed like the best, but then he'd have to find a way to get rid of Dan, and I know some people liked him, so they probably just did what they could. But I don't know, like, it's like I said earlier before you got here, like there's so many things in those movies that I'm sure us as fans we would have chosen to do differently or approach differently, knowing with the knowledge we have. And sometimes it's a good thing to have that kind of knowledge when telling us an adaptation of something, and sometimes it could be a bad thing. Like, I thought Moon Knight was really great, and no one who made Moon Knight knew anything about Moon Knight, and I thought that worked for the betterment of the interpretation of that show. Now, is it as violent as and intense as some Moon Knight comics where people would like it to be? No, it's not. But they also didn't deal with Bushman in season one, and I feel like Bushman is the season where you're going to get gritty with it. So to me, it seems like they did the D.I.D thing, and they kind of, because you're like, you have to explain. I mean, we do it every day, like, and like when we go to work or people we work with, it's like we have to answer questions that people have, and and there's simple questions a lot of times, but sometimes the answers people have to really wrap their brain around what's happening. So to dedicate a good portion of that show to make you understand on some level what D.I.D is like, and to treat it a little bit more respectfully than other movies and TV shows have done before. I think that was their main goal on top of making a superhero show. And I thought they found a good balance. But I look at that as like, hey, this is a great introduction of the character. And it helps you understand the idea of what his struggles are. And I'm glad they didn't do Bushman in season one, because now they set up Jake and everything, and he's violent. And you go into season two where, Jake maybe is looking for even though it's a different Jake from the comic, but Jake in the comic books is not a killer. But in the show, he's like the super violent side of where he has to work without a conscience, the way Mark feels bad about stuff he does and Jake doesn't. And again, it's a protective mechanism for their brain. So it would make more sense to do the season two where Jake's cutting off the face of Bushman and stuff, just works better that way. So adaptation it's tricky. Sometimes you need someone who doesn't know anything to come in and give a good version of it, and sometimes you need someone who knows a lot about it, and you just never know until you try. And I feel like Venom, like I thought Tom, again, like you said, he had a good handle on it, him and Kelly in the first two, where it's like he found that balance. And the third one, there was too many story things that they had to like try to get through to get from one point to the other. And I was like, God, I don't know if you needed all of that. And that was maybe the thing, was that they were like, maybe it was a little overthought on some level, but I don't know. I need to rewatch it. All three of them again. I haven't seen them in a while. I have no idea. This is the end? You talking about the Venom vlog? Yeah. By the end of the year, I probably won't do anything on this channel again after the end of the year. I'm trying to get to episode 350 of Seek at Night. So the last things you'll probably see me do is I want to do a couple of essay videos on Moon Knight, the TV show, that I've been wanting to do for years. So those will probably be the last episodes of Seek at Night, and those might go into January of next year. But I don't know. I mean, I've already started on them, so they might be done before then too. So yeah, I actually made an episode, Seek and Destroy episode, explaining that we're wrapping everything up, and I think we have 2 episodes of Seek and Destroy left as well. And that was the show that I started this channel with, and we're about to hit episode 300 of that, and that'll be the last episode of that. So you'll have 900 Venom vlog episodes on here, 100 symbiote shorts, so that's like 1,000 Venom episodes. Plus, we also have the Parasite podcast. There's like 40 of those, and we'll have 40 plus episodes of the Venom vlog live. So there's a lot of Venom content on here. Then 300 Seek and Destroys, and maybe 350 Seek at Nights. Some of the other shows I wanted to do, like Green Lantern stuff, I had to like uh, cut those off. But I still will try to do the Batman Hush episode for Seek at Night, because I've been wanting to do that for years too, and then also talk about Hush 2 as well. So we'll still try to get into those things. But yeah, this will be the end, man. I'm getting older, and I'm my health, with health and everything, like I really want to get these books that I'm working on done. I feel like there's been times where I've chosen to do this stuff over books, and I regret that sometimes. But sometimes I just, if I didn't feel creative on that level, I'm like, all right, well, let's go do some YouTube episodes and get some creativity out there, or talk about creative things. So it was good for that. But really want to try to button up some of these projects I've been working on, and try to get some of them done. Actually, two of them will be done by the end of the year, and one of them will be free. I'm just going to give it out for free. So yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, and then plus, like, with where me and Blue want to go with our career at our current job, it's just better to not have like a big presence on social media, because some of the stuff we want to go work in is top secret stuff, behind the scenes stuff we wouldn't be able to talk about. And although I've been really good over the years of, like, if someone tells me not to say something, I don't do it. So like, I can keep secrets and I can separate work from hobbies, but I don't have 24-hour days anymore. I explained that earlier too with D.I.D. So like, or being aware of it. Like, now my days exist in like 10-hour increments. So I have a lot less time in a day to get stuff done. And I don't know if it's always been like that, but now that I'm aware of it, it feels like not enough time to do stuff. And sometimes only 6 hours, you never know. It's a day by day kind of thing sometimes. So I just don't have time on a level as well. But this was always a hobby. Like, I never meant for this to be like a career thing, although getting over 3,000 subscribers is way more beyond than I thought I'd ever get. I thought we would tap out around 1,000 to 2,000, but every time we went up another, 500, I was always blown away. Another 100, I was blown away. Like, so I'm grateful, but yeah, as someone who's going to be I'm in my mid 40s, I'm getting to that point now where I'm just like, yeah, I want to go places, and I want Blue to go places in life that you know go this way, whereas like YouTube kind of is on this path. But also, I noticed that, like, doing this, it's a dangerous thing. Like, we were buying cards to make content on, you buy toys to review. Like, when you don't make money doing this and you're spending the money you earn, and then you go out and so it's like you work like when I was working at Lego, you work like a 9-hour day or whatever, and I was like a supervisor over there. So it's like you do that, and then you have the stresses of your day, but then you hit like a Target on the way home and buy the newest Venom toy. And then you go home and you film, making doing a review of the Venom toy, or see what news came out while you're at work, and talk about that. Or on your lunch break, see what news is out there and retweet it and repost it. It's like that grind was good for a while there, but without the Venom movies, like, I was like, it felt like a good jumping off point. And I know that, to transition now into the comics, like, the Al Ewing run, I have not really enjoyed that much. Like, I did in the beginning, I thought it was interesting because they were still doing King in Black and they were tying into these things, and Dylan was, Venom on Earth and stuff, and I was liking it. But it just got, in my mind, it had moments around issue 20 where it was like, okay, this is neat. They brought back this, android from the, the World War II era of Marvel. Like, this is cool. And Sleeper's a neat character, and it has all these moments, and then it just kind of like fizzles, and all the stuff they're doing now, I'm just not interested. Like, I feel like they don't know what to do with some of these characters, and I feel like it shows. And now Mary Jane is Venom, and Eddie Brock is Carnage, and again, cool concepts, probably done well in certain areas, but for me, not interested. And then they got the Null miniseries coming out, written by Al Ewing. Not interested. So it's like, so for me, I'm like, there's just, and I'll say this more like in my final Seek and Destroy episode, but like, I've stopped caring about my opinion on stuff. So, which sounds awful. Like, I don't, if I like something, I just want to say, hey, I liked it. And I want to walk away, and I don't want to dissect it anymore and get into it. Like, I like it or I don't like it. As I've gotten older, I don't spend time on things anymore, which is good and bad. I've been doing more living in the moment stuff than and planning career stuff than planning, like, hobby stuff. So yeah, it's that's kind of like the juxt of it though. But yeah, the Al Ewing stuff, it just hasn't. It's not like the worst Venom stuff I've ever read. There's interesting concepts and good artwork and stuff, but for me, it's just like I should have just jumped off after King in Black and saved some of those episodes for other topics. But it's fine. You know, it's I don't regret anything. I've had fun doing this show and this channel, and but I've definitely hit a peak. You know, like 3,000. I think is that's where my level is. It's like I'm surprised to get to that level, but I'm not a guy who will end up with 10,000 subscribers and 20,000 subscribers and go onward. I'm just not that type of. I don't find myself that interesting, but I also don't know what else I would talk about. And I think if I did a Green Lantern show, like I literally did a poll a couple times over the years where I'm like, hey, would you guys like to see me do Green Lantern? And I would get like the least amount of votes or sometimes no votes. So I'm just like, well, that's something I would maybe want to talk about because it might help people understand how our D.I.D system works a little bit more because we use colors like the Green Lanterns do. But really, I was just like, yeah, but I also don't want to just talk about like the stuff I go through and the pain I go through. I have Instagram to kind of vent that a little bit, but I go to therapy every week now. So like I do that. That's how I get that energy out now. So yeah, so for me it's this has been amazing, but like I don't know what else to do. You know, I don't know what other kind of content to make. I don't really want to I don't really collect comic books anymore. Like we still read Moon Knight, the Jed McKay stuff, because Blue buys it and he buys the current Transformer run that Skybound puts out. But I don't want to do videos on really that stuff either. I will for Seek at Night until that ends. But so that's all it is. I don't want to keep buying stuff to make content out of. I think that's a dangerous habit because I don't make a ton of money. I think I get like once a year I cross enough. I get enough views and like donations, like you know, or whatever, $5 here and there that'll total to $100. So like usually every June or July or August we cross that $100 threshold. So once a year for the past like 5 years, I've made $100 off of YouTube, and I tried to do it to buy lights or to buy software for the computer to help me do stuff. And I try to put it just right back into this. Sometimes I might buy a product that I wasn't going to buy before to review it, just so that money funnels back in here. But a lot of times I'm buying stuff to make videos on, and there's no return. And as much as I like doing this as a hobby, it's that can be dangerous, you know, to just buy things just to make videos on. It's fun, but it's also can be financially dangerous. So we're trying to break some of those habits too, if that makes sense. I'm just glad that they didn't make Dan to be a bad guy or a jerk. He was just a nice dude who was out of his depth. I agree. I mean, he's not Eddie. You know, obviously all of us want Eddie to be with Anne, but he was a nice guy. And Anne, I think, just needed a nice guy. And that's not to say that relationship doesn't fall apart in a couple years, and then she moves back to New York and sees Eddie there, and he's building a life for himself again, and he's still single, and they end up together. Like you could fanfic it all day if you want, but yeah, it was cool that they went against trope and they made Dan not just a nice guy but a fan of Eddie's, which is somehow worse because I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where like an ex you still kind of keep in touch with, and she meets someone who's like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan of yours. And you're like, what? You know, not a lot of people get to be put in that position, but it can be interesting. I'm sure I've seen like being in LA, like I've had friends had that experience, and I'm like, that's interesting to see that, like to be there and watch them see their ex, and then the person that they're now with is like, hey man, you know, I like that thing you wrote, or I like this, and you're just like, so that's what I've always kind of liked about that relationship about that they did in the movie with Dan. So I agree. Swordsman says, but thank you for that. Swordsman says the issue with Noah is he serves a spectacle backdrop as a spectacle backdrop, and Eddie's development, which Last Dance didn't really do. I mean, that's exactly it. They brought Noel in, and Noel serves a purpose to the story of Eddie, but in the movie he was just like this thing that existed somewhere, was supposedly locked up and powerless, yet had the power to send these creatures to Earth to find this, you know, the symbiote, you know, and the codex or whatever. I agree. It didn't work the way it did in the comic, and I understand it's an interpretation, but it also felt a little pointless. Like you could have put a different villain in that movie and not make it about that. But, like I said, Kelly and Tom might have had this, oh, we want to tell this story. But I've told you since the first movie, Avi Arad in those early interviews, because he's a producer on them, he was like, I see this leading to an invasion. And that's essentially what the third movie was. It was like a low scale invasion story. And that's what it ended up being. So, more symbiotes retreated from, running from Null, leaving Clintar, which I guess gave Null the power to, slightly break out and take control of those creatures. So, I mean, I guess there's a story element there that wasn't fully explained that you can win a no prize for guessing. But yeah, I agree. I feel like that was kind of the ball that was dropped. Spider-Man 2 just tried to turn Venom into Null to be different. Another thing, that again, using these elements from the comics without understanding the context of them, that's never a good thing. Like, yes, okay, your version of Null is different from the comic version of Null. I get that. But it still has to make sense in a way. And it still has to tie in a way and be like, writing isn't like, it's funny, writing, this is the problem I had as an editor, and probably why I even if I stuck with working in comics, because I walked away from comics, which I do have like a regret feeling of sometimes, because that was always a dream job. But I just noticed a lot of like new writers that were coming into comics. They were friends of somebody, who got them the job. It was like, there was a little bit of that going on. And not a lot of, in my opinion, talent. Now, I don't mean to say that they were talentless. I don't mean that at all. I'm just saying, like, a lot of times writing, you get better with writing. It's like drawing. It's like anything else. You get better. So you have to do it. You have to start somewhere. But I felt like a lot of people that were starting, they wouldn't take criticism. So if you were like, hey, here's why this doesn't work structurally, or you could do this and it ties it back to this, and you would get resistance from people who just were like, I know what I'm doing. And it's like, but you don't. Like, this is like the third comic you've ever written. And I'm not saying like I'm an all-knowing anything. I'm offering suggestions. You don't have to take them. As an editor, I never was like, you got it, you have to do this. I might make a strong argument for it and be a little bit passionate about it. But if at the end of the day, I'm like, you're the writer, your name's on the book. So if you want to do it, that's fine. You can do it your way. But I'm trying to make the best product. Like, I'm not challenging you just to challenge you. I just want this thing to sell and resonate with people. And this is how I think you could do that. And you had a lot of resistance. And I guess I just got tired of having the same argument every time, to a degree, and meeting people in the industry that I'd buy their books and read it. And I would be like, okay, this is a good starting point for this writer. I can't wait to see where they go, and then see them still, at that level and not looking for ways to improve. And I think that's some of the best storytellers and creators out there, whether you make music or movies or whatever, or whether you work a retail job or whatever it is. If you go in with the mentality of every day I want to be better than yesterday, you're going to do great. Like, you're going to become like a name in that industry. You're going to make a difference. If that's your goal, is to be like, I'm here to do my job and be better at it each day, then you will be. In most cases, you will be. It's hard sometimes. I get it. And sometimes you don't know what better means. But if you just go in going like, all right, yesterday I snapped at somebody and they didn't deserve it, I'm going to go and apologize today. That already makes me better than yesterday. I should have listened to them more or seen their point of view. And you grow, and I think as long as you're growing, you're improving in some way. And I didn't see a lot of that in comics with some people, at least some of the people I was around. Not everyone I was around. Some people did want to do that. But a lot of times it was just a job to people too. They're just like, I'm writing this, and then I'm gonna write this, and they just kind of, do the minimal and turn it in and whatever. And that would always drive me nuts too. So I think with comics, like with storytelling in general, I've just noticed a decline in people wanting to be better. And I was like, this is where I step off, because even though I do want to be better and I want to get better at editing and I want to write more too, and I want to learn. I think I learned a lot about writing as a writer, but also as an editor, and a lot about art as an editor too. And I've had artists come to me and writers come to me and say, you've helped me make my stuff better. And that's the biggest compliment anyone can get. Because I'm like, dude, you've always had it in you to do it this good. I'm just glad I said the thing that flipped the switch, but ultimately it's your hands, it's your creativity that are doing it. You've always had this power in you. You wake up every day wanting to be better, and you've become better. And that's really what it is. And luckily, I was a small part of that journey. So to me, like that's what I try to do, and me and Blue do, like with each other, but also at work. Like whenever we work in an environment like the one we work in now, we like to build people up. We don't like to tear people down. If people complain too much, we'll say, hey, no offense, you complain a little too much for my, taste. I don't really like hearing people complain. I could certainly sit and complain all day about my life. I go, but I don't want to. I'll mention some things, but then I try to move on to the positive stuff. And there's just too much positive sometimes to sit and focus on the negative, in my opinion. And I'm glad I've gotten that point of view, because I struggle with depression. I struggle with a lot of stuff, but Blue has really opened my eyes to a lot of things, to make me realize how good I do have things, even when they're bad. And that's the thing about depression. Sometimes it clouds your judgment. And that's what's, I think, a beneficial thing to me being part of a D.I.D system, is you have someone like Blue who does not have depression, who is not coming from a place of trauma or loss or things. He's just this optimistic, personality that's really healthy, and it's helped out a lot. It's like having a symbiote that's always positive, in a way, who wants to make you better. And that's been kind of fun. But I agree with your assessment on Null in both those versions. You're right. Carnage, by contrast, is far more flexible and can be dropped in. I agree. You can pluck a Carnage in because it's a little bit more simpler. It's like, okay, he's a serial killer. These are the elements of him. You could drop him in there. But Venom, you're right, and Null and things like that are a little bit more specific. Though I do wish Jack would get some love. Jack. Is that Jack-o'-lantern? Which Jack do you mean? I'm sorry. I want to get your answer on that. I might be crossing my wires here. Yeah. Al MJ has been a drag. Fellow Venom fans have told me to go to Eddie Carnage, but that's not ending as well. Yeah, I know that's going to wrap up soon too. Carnage is one of those characters they just don't know what to do with. Yeah, Jack-o'-lantern. Okay, good. I was just making sure. Where I work, so what's cool about Universal here in Orlando, as opposed to California, is that they have a whole island of Marvel stuff at this Universal, which is really cool, and I'm sure it really pisses Disney off. But I like walking. That's my favorite area to walk around. I really want to go work over there. I would love to. I would love to do a more creative job too. But in the meantime, until we get a more creative job, I would like to go work in Marvel, because in their Spider-Man store, there's a wall with Venom on it. There's a wall with Jack-o'-lantern on it. It's a really cool store, and I would love to go and work in that environment. I think I could sell really well over there, and help, improve sales. And not that they're bad, I don't think, but it's just like there's a lot. Every time I go there, I want to buy stuff. And I know when I get passionate about stuff, I become a better salesman. So like in the environment I'm in now, especially with Blue, like we're both we love the people we work with, but we can be we get bored at times with the environment. And it's just because we're just that kind of person. Like it's like we're not big Harry Potter fans. So like, although we've become bigger fans since working there, and Minion fans since working there, and Jurassic Park fans since working there, so we can help move that stuff. And Nintendo, now that we have Nintendo, but like with Marvel and Transformers, though, like that's just our thing, man. Like we eat, sleep, and breathe it. So we would benefit, I think, and be beneficial in areas like that. But speaking of Jack-o'-lantern, there's some love for him over at where we work, and which is awesome. I love seeing that big image of him. It's so cool. Yeah, Jack-o'-lantern. But yeah, Al's MJ, I've read a couple things that like pop up on Instagram. Like there's a couple people that put like a page or two up. I try not to follow those or even give acknowledgement to people that will post a whole comic book or like 10 pages of a comic book, which is like half the issue. I don't approve of stuff like that, like putting it up like that. But sharing a panel or a page or even 2 pages, I guess that's my personal threshold of it. Because otherwise you're just giving away too much. I even thought that about Venom Vlog. Like we have really deep discussions, and over a while we would cover new issues in detail when they first drop. And I felt like, you know what, I'm pretty much giving away the first issue to people who haven't read it. And I don't want to, I don't want to do that. I became self-aware of doing that and being like, yeah, I don't really like doing this. So I learned through the Venom Vlog of like, let's stop doing that. So I eventually did, and now we're like, I wait till stuff comes out in trades or whatever to discuss them. I think that's just more fair to the creators too. Not that a lot of people watch my show, so I'm not taking a ton of like, money out of their pocket, but even if I took $1 out of their pocket, I would feel bad. So but yeah, Al's stuff I haven't. I After Venom War, I've seen a couple moments, and I think someone gave me Venom #1 and Eddie Brock Carnage #1 as like a gift, but I read them, but I didn't make like episodes on them. Um, but yeah, I kind of figured MJ was like, when that rumor popped up, I'm like, that rumor came out of nowhere, so that must have been like a planted rumor of some kind, where they told someone they knew had an audience, and they spread it around, to soften the blow because they knew people would hate it, or thought people might hate it. And that's the other thing. A lot of times you have these creators who do things because they're like, I can't wait till people hate on this, because they know that in the online space, and that's another reason why we're walking away from it, relevance is a big thing. People are like, oh, you're not relevant. You only have this many subscribers, or you're losing this many subscribers. You're not relevant, or and I don't like judging people based on relevance, but unfortunately that's how a lot of like streamers and people, that's what keeps them in the spotlight. So they have to do things that are controversial, or say something that is hardcore or whatever, or do something. And that's what I think comics try to do. They go, we know not a lot of people are reading comics these days, a lot less than before, based on distribution and how they feel about stories. Like there's many reasons, right, that comics sell less now. But one of the things they do to try to sell more is they go like, we're going to do this thing, like we're going to do something that people are going to hate, and we can't wait to see the reaction. And I also I don't like that business model, and that's why I didn't want to apply that to this channel. Like that's why I was like, all right, let's leave on a high note as opposed to overstaying my welcome. And I feel like sometimes comics, like to me, I'm like, Venom's a great character, but he can go away for a while too. You can stop making Venom comics. I know they were top selling under Donny Cates, so it makes sense that he kept it going. But with Al, they're not selling like that. So to me, I'm like, you can, after Al's run, if you want to bring Eddie back as Venom, or make him King in Black again and have Dylan be Venom, whatever you want to do, and you can have them go away for a while, and they can pop up in other people's books for a year or two, and then bring them back when you have a really good story to tell. Don't just keep it going to keep them relevant, because then you're just going to tell bad stories with them, in my opinion, or do dumb things with them, like YouTubers and streamers and everything else. But yeah, Al doesn't really get Venom that well. No, he doesn't. And I know that's your opinion, but that's mine too. And it's also Al Ewing's opinion. I bring it up all the time. He had that interview where he said, I finally get the character of Venom, as he was writing Venom War, which is one of the worst Venom crossover event books ever. It was terrible. I had a couple good moments with Peter and the symbiote and stuff, but even Al didn't write that stuff, I don't believe. So it was like, to me, I'm just like, yeah, he does not get the character at all. For someone who did such a great run on Hulk, I'm really surprised how terrible he's done at Venom. He does not get character. And he even said it. He goes, in Venom War, he's like, I finally found my footing with the character, and I can't wait to write them moving forward. And then he makes it Mary Jane. Now, I do think it's an interesting thing with Mary Jane to be bonded to the symbiote because of how traumatized she was by the symbiote in the beginning. So there's a cathartic thing there. There's a nice poetry to that, of her being bonded and them coming, like the symbiote going, I need to make amends with people. So it made amends with Peter Parker during Venom War. And now it's making amends with, Mary Jane on some level. But it needs to make amends with Eddie too. It hid memories from Eddie. It did all these things with Eddie that like it made him think he had a sister apparently that he didn't have, which I still hate that retcon. Even though it wasn't a massive one, it was still something. But still, it's like it did all these things. It messed with his memories. It hid a child from him with Sleeper. Like it does these things that I'm like, it needs to bond with Eddie again, and they need to work that out. And I feel like maybe that was King in Black. They kind of did in a way, but I don't know. It's on this like it's like doing that My Name is Earl thing where it's going through a checklist of like people it needs to make amends with, and that's fine, but it just didn't need to stay on Mary Jane this long. And I think because the books aren't selling well, and they even were like, we're going back to the original numbering and we're bringing Null back, we're doing all the things, like again, the Null thing, I don't think organically story wise it made any sense to bring Null back, But then they did it because they needed something big for episode 250 or issue 250, and Al just didn't have any other ideas. And Marvel editorial was probably like, hey, Null is when the book sold well, so let's bring Null back and try to do something with Null, and we'll do a mini series. And it just, I can see the business side of it, and it's more than the creative side. And I'm just like, yeah, those need to be more 50-50 and not tilted either way, in my opinion. That's how I think you get good, long lasting comic books, is when there's a symbiosis, a synergy with it. Do you bring back the Venom vlog if the rumored Venom Lethal Protector game comes out? Not at all. Sorry. If the Venom video game comes out, I will play it as a fan, and I will not live stream it, most likely. Most likely. Now, if it's Eddie Brock and I don't know. I guess I should never say never. Probably not. I will say that. One of the things, so I don't know if you know this, like and I don't know if I said this in my video, but what I'm going through in therapy, although we're going to put a pause on that because of a discussion, a debate, I guess we're having with Blue, like a belief debate. But we've been in therapy, we've been working on merging me and two other alters into a hopefully healthier, more well-rounded alter identity. And it's taking a lot of work. And we've been doing it all year and a little bit end of last year. So almost a full year now. Like we started it, I think, right before Ace passed away, this form of therapy. And it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's me learning about the details of what happened to us as kids. And it's heavy stuff, and I don't want to talk about it on here by any means. But like going through it and having to learn it through these other two alters who experienced it, there may be a chance that the version of me that doesn't exist anymore. Like we merge with those identities, and we become this new identity that is part them, part me. And that person may not have the drive or interest in even doing YouTube anymore. So that is the main reason that one of the main reasons that I'm also ending the channel, is because I'd rather it end with me being like this and having this level of passion or commitment to things, and this level of joy and criticism to things. So that's to me, that's the crux of it. So I'll say never, but like if it's a Venom game with Eddie Brock, like who knows? Like, maybe I'll stream it on Twitch, and then cut up the episodes and throw them over here. Oops, sorry, I think I lost you guys for a second, but hopefully we're back. But I don't know. The plan is no, though. I think Cosmic Invasion is the last thing we'll do with Venom on this channel, most likely. Because I do want to do things for me. Like that's the other thing is like I really love the movie Walter Mitty. And one lesson I learned from that movie is that you don't have to share everything. You don't have to consistently be online and share things with people. You can just do things for you. And they call it a snowcat, like in that movie. And I don't want to spoil that movie if you haven't seen it, but I love that. I love the original Danny Kaye one, but I really love the Ben Stiller remake. I love it more than the original. And I love that moment that Walter realizes that sometimes life is about being in the moment of something and not always sharing it. And there is joy to sharing it, but I feel like I've shared things for, 8, 9 years, 10 years on this channel 11 years I've been making YouTube content. So that's a long time. That's a big chunk of my life. Me personally too, as an alter, like that's most of my life. But if Blue is like the new ongoing host, main personality moving forward, he does not have really an interest in making this type of content. He likes photography, and he has like a thing he's doing with his Instagram, but it's, that's it. I mean, even when he live streams Fortnite and stuff, he doesn't really talk to people. He's on a headset, he's talking to his friends and stuff, but he's not live streaming the chat part of it. So yeah, it's for him to decide, but for me, probably not. Most likely I will stop after Cosmic Invasion. So cool to see you live again. Hey, thanks, Sky. Good to see you. Yes, Jack Lantern. Yeah, see, I like Mary Jane symbiote being a pair. That's an interesting twist, but like it feels like nobody knows what to do with Venom. But that's how they are with Carnage too. Like I think making Carnage Eddie is interesting too. There's a cathartic thing you can do with their story and evolve them. And there's a story you can tell with Mary Jane, absolutely, and involve her. But I just don't know if Al's the person to do it. You know what I'm saying? Um, Eddie got gaslit into thinking he had cancer. I mean, yeah, that's another big thing. Like, so I think there's still a lot of reconciliation that needs to be done with Eddie and the symbiote. And maybe he's building up to that. Maybe he's like, all right, I wronged Peter first and then scared Mary Jane. And then now let's go back to Eddie. And maybe he'll just, unload. Like one of the things I like about going through D.I.D. is like this sharing of knowledge. Like, there's parts of my life that have been hidden from me. And that's not like the alters doing it to hurt me. The whole point of me post aneurysm, like in Moon Knight, when he's like, the whole point of you is to not know that you were beaten as a child. The whole point of me is to not know certain things that happened to me, even though I've been dealing with depression for years, and we thought, okay, it's survivor's guilt from the aneurysm. I was in aneurysm groups. I've seen other people who had a much harder time post aneurysm than I did. And seeing that was hard, and knowing that there was people out there that were struggling, which is why I wanted to make Soul Star and make that book and try to raise awareness the best I could for that, in those causes like the Aneurysm Foundation and the Joe Necro Foundation. So it's like for me it was like a call to action, right, to try to do something. Um, but like, but now I'm realizing like Eddie does, like parts of my life are not what I thought they were, and things that happened weren't what I thought happened, and it's hard. It's a real hard thing to learn. It hits me. It affects my confidence. It affects my worth, my self-worth. So the sadness that I've had for years that built into depression, um, that led to self-deletion attempts, like it just adding that on top of all of it, it's like has been difficult. So I feel like, I mean, God, man, I would love to write a Venom miniseries that deals with memories, that deals with the hiding things from the person you're with in an attempt to protect them, and why that sometimes can be good, maybe, and why it can be bad, um, and how hard it is when you learn those things. And I would love to write a story. I honestly, I have it finished. It's a Moon Knight Venom comic book, where Venom teams up with each identity: Jake Lockley, Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, Mr. Knight, Moon Knight, meets Khonshu, like in a way, like it's I have this story. It deals with memory and trauma and childhood, and and it puts all the continuity in there with the sister, the cancer, Eddie, the stuff Donnie added with Eddie hitting someone drunk driving as a kid, his dad, like it adds all that in there. It deals with all that. It's a heavy story for sure. Maybe it's something that would be mature rated because of the themes of it, even though I don't have killing or stuff like that in it. But I would love to write that story for Marvel. Marvel, I have it done. If you if you want to read it, I have a pitch for it and I have the scripts done. Um, I would love to do it. I have an idea as a big annual one issue thing. Um, or I could split it up into like a 4 issue comic book series, and add more story, because I have other story ideas for it. But I would love something like that to be approached and written by somebody. I would love Jed McKay to write it, actually. If and do his version of it. But yeah, I think there's a lot to you could deal with a lot there with those characters and childhood trauma, and how a DID system protects a mind the way a symbiote tries to protect Eddie. There's a lot of parallels. Bringing Noel back, no, God, no. I know, right? And he's got his own miniseries coming out, so get ready to skip it, like everyone else probably will. The business side doesn't even make sense with Noel. You get a dead cat bounce, and with bringing back dead characters. I mean, yeah, yeah, you're right. But that just shows you like ideas, like there's not a ton of them, and that's where like when you run out of ideas for a character, take them away. Like anyone can write a Batman story. It's not hard. It may not be great, but it's like, oh, dude, he's a detective. He fights crime. It's like they'll come up with dumb ideas like, oh, we're gonna make him broke, or we're gonna make him even more rich, or we're gonna make Bruce Wayne get captured and put in jail for murder and framed or whatever, by Deadshot. And it's like you can do all these things with the character, and you'll never really run dry on that. Same with Spider-Man. You can keep that book going no matter what. New people will come in with their ideas, but with like characters like Venom and Moon Knight and stuff, like you can, and Punisher, they don't have to have a book every month. You do it when you have good stories to tell. And that's how I feel those characters should always be handled. There was also a great book that came out when we were growing up that we were fans of, that I'm still a fan of as an adult, separately from the nostalgia memories of it, which is Marvel Comics Presents. That was always a great comic to try out new characters. Like Tigra could get a story in there. Okay, maybe a Tigra miniseries wouldn't sell, but we could put her in Marvel Comics Presents, because on this side it was a Wolverine story and a Ghost Rider story, and then on this side we would have like Tigra and War Machine or something, or Tigra and Iron Fist or whatever, or Vengeance. Take Ghost Rider out and put Vengeance in. Like they did a lot of cool things with that book, and I think there's a need for comics like that even nowadays, where you could try concepts and characters, and if that sells well or gets blasted on social media, you go, okay, well, that people really like that story in that book. Let's do a mini series on it. But again, that's the business side working with the creative side, 50-50, I feel, and not what a lot of stuff that comes out nowadays. Yeah, the pairing as potential main issue is that Al doesn't really want to explore that beyond a token effort. That's exactly it. Al is, for whatever reason, did a really deep Hulk dive lore story that I thought shined a real interesting light on Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and told a very interesting story with them. And then he's doing the opposite with Venom. Everything feels surface level, and I don't like that. I do not like that at all. It feels lazy compared to what I know he can do as a writer. Though I will grant Al's justification for MJ holding a grudge against Venom. Oh yeah, for sure. I agree, but that's there built into the comic, already. So I think Al just aped off of what was already there and expounded on it, which is good. I'm glad he didn't ignore it, but I don't know if I'll give him full credit for it either. So long as everyone involved is on board, because in a way that kind of makes a new person. I mean, the three of us are, but if Blue's not, then that gives us pause, right? You're talking about I'm sure you're talking about the identity merging thing. So Blue, and I think because of Moon Knight, and because Blue is the newest of all of us alters, Blue is a very optimistic, individual, but he also doesn't see us as something that's broken. And I struggle with that. I struggle with, well, we are some kid that got damaged, and our brain compensated for that damage that apparently happened over and over and over, to a boiling point that caused the full shatter. And I wonder if the right approach is to try to put the pieces back together, because that is a common, not nowadays, but it was at one point, a more common way to treat DID, is if you have identities that are self-harming and like I am to us, which is why I still wear this, and now it's getting a little bit colder down here in Florida, not like cold compared to what other people view as cold, but for Florida, it's been getting cold. And this hurts during this time, like the nerves and stuff, like it hurt. Because that damage is like never going to go away, what I did to us. So when you have people struggling in your system, it feels like the right move to make is to move towards a merge in a way with stronger alters and identities, and some others that may struggle with other things, to hopefully make a healthier individual. But Blue doesn't believe that. Blue thinks he's excited that we're unique. He loves the idea that we're not like other people, that he thinks our strength comes from being individuals, and if one of us is hurting, helping each other. And he sees strength in that and views that as the purpose of a DID system, not to merge, but to accept each other and to move forward together as a team. And and of course, like I said, he's an optimistic, hopeful individual. So his opinion's not wrong. I don't think mine is either. And what we're trying to accomplish in therapy is wrong either. But I do want to take pause and at least listen to his point of view. Like I think like I've gotten more into like I've always paid attention to politics. I don't ever talk about politics online ever anymore, because I always seem to have like a nuanced stance where I'm like, oh, this side is right this time. I agree with them. Oh, okay, this side is right this time. I agree with them. And I kind of approach it like that. But I'm more of an independent thinker. I've become like over the years, but I feel like I always have. Like my mom told me like my first vote when I first voted back when I was 18 was like for a third party. It wasn't like, Democrat or Republican. So I think we've always had the ability to be an independent thinker within us as a system before aneurysm, and then now, I guess. But even me, when I just thought it was me, I've always tried to take that approach, and that's gotten me flack from all kinds of friends, unfortunately, who don't see things that way or don't want to look at things that way, which is fine. So I try to avoid that, but the discussing that stuff online, because it's not important. I don't think that stuff makes us who we are ultimately. And so for me, with the system, I try to treat it like the House and the Senate almost. I'm like, if he's not voting for this, I want it to be unanimous. So like, let's hear him out and let's discuss and let's live for a little bit longer the way he wants us to. Because if this is goodbye, he should still get a little bit more time with the stuff he believes in a way. So it's compromise, it's communicating and compromising, but also being willing to go against what you wholeheartedly believe, which I believe this could lead to a healthier thing. But am I a good judge of that? I'm someone who tried to already cease to exist on my own when I thought it was just me. Now I'm doing a different version of ceasing to exist. So am I just going towards that natural sadness still, and Blue is the opposite. He's like, no, I don't want you to cease to exist. I want you to keep being you and keep making art. And he goes, and if it means that I got to work a day job and you got to create art, then, be a little hermit in your house, then that's what I want you to do. That makes you happy, and so it's balancing, I mean, of course it makes a love life impossible to an extent. It makes friendship sometimes difficult. But it's Blue said it best. I think he said, life isn't supposed to be easy. And it's never been easy for us. So like, why should it be now? And why, so like, not that life shouldn't have some ease to it and some comfort, but he's like, look at around, it's not bad. We don't live a bad life, like he's like, we live a good life. And it's a lonely one sometimes, but it's still a good one. And we'll get another dog at some point soon. We're just still not ready yet. And we want to have a routine work schedule so we could have time to train the dog and, and spend time with the dog while it's adjusting to a new life with us. So, he's not wrong though. And I'm not wrong either. So we're just trying to find that middle ground, where we can all be happy with the choices we make. But yeah, so long as everyone is involved, glad Blue's got your back. Blue is like, he's like that guy that's like a fan, like he watched a bunch of my YouTube videos so that he can impersonate me, because he knew that people would act weird in our everyday life if one day he was just himself and the next day, I was me. There's just sometimes there's a harsh difference with us. He has a thick Southern accent, and now he's let it out more where we work because he's going in more than I am. So I'm like, dude, you know what? If people get weird about it, let them get weird about it. You can explain it to them if you want, or you don't owe anyone an explanation. Like, we're past that point. We need to just accept who we are, and we're just different, and and our leaders who we work with are super awesome, supportive. If we have like an episode or something, they hey, go to this area and take your time. It's okay. keep communicating with us. So we send them an email like once every other week or so, just to give them an update on things, how we're doing, on stuff. I'm sure some of them don't really care, but some of the ones that do are really great working with us. So it's we've gotten to a point now where it's just like he goes in, he's full on Southern accent, he does his thing, he has his, because people will say like, "Hey, the other day you did this," and he's like, "That wasn't me, man. I wasn't here that day," and it's taken some people, I'm sure, some time to get used to. They do ask questions. Blue tells me sometimes some of the questions they ask. Sometimes he just says, "Oh yeah." Some people ask me questions today, but doesn't get into the details of it. Me and him communicate sometimes internally. Sometimes we leave notes for each other. Sometimes we don't. We're just at the point now where we just do what we can. Like we're tired of stressing over everything, and it's made our life a little bit easier. So Blue's always had my back, always. When I wasn't feeding myself and I wasn't taking care of myself after Echo died, and I tried to self delete, like Blue was the one who's like, "No, we're gonna stop him." Like him and Green, like we're not doing this. Like we're gonna find a way to get him functioning again. Like this is a guy who maybe just struggles in the real world. Just that's how he is. He's an artist, he's a writer, he's a creative type. Maybe the real world just isn't for him, but let's create an environment where he feels safe. And they helped me do that. And they helped by letting me know I was part of a D.I.D system, which I didn't know before. And they let me know that I had support, even though I had friends that were always there for me. But this is a different kind of support, and it's constant. And that's helped. And then they got Ace. They rescued Ace, and that helped us out emotionally a lot over the past few years when we had him. Those 2 years we had him. So, like yeah, Blue's been amazing. Like I'm a big fan of him too now. And he's opened a lot of doors for us that I probably couldn't have done because of the areas that I'm emotionally weak in, and he's emotionally strong in. And it's great. He serves a really important purpose in our system, and he's got all of our backs. Doors just don't always open if any of you want a place to talk, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we go to therapy, so I don't like to trauma dump on people. Like someone pointed out to me one time, they're like, you'll post heavy things sometimes on your Instagram. So now I just try to do like, I try to keep it not too heavy, if I can, and I just try to just talk about, okay, here's what I went through the day, and here's what I appreciate in my day, and I try to keep it to that, and I think that's helped me have a little bit of a better Instagram page than before. I try to share the things I'm grateful for, and then the things that I've gone through that maybe have been a struggle, but how we overcame it, because I want people to see that even though our brain works differently than others, just like post aneurysm, like I'm like, it was a head injury, like we still have damage up there. So I'm like, I just want people to like treat me normal, like to be like, and treat Blue normal, and treat all of us like, okay, we're different in certain ways, but like we're still here to do a job. We're here to grow as a person. We're here to build a career. Like, please don't hold us back because you think we're mentally unstable. Like we try really hard to be like not that we have to, like it's almost effortless now. We're just ourselves now. We're just like, you know what? Take us or leave us. Yeah, we're like me. I'm critical. I'm a hard ass on certain things, but when I'm around people, I try to be nicer to them. I've never had me or Blue have never had one harsh negative guest experience in the 8 months that we work at our current job. And a manager overheard him say that recently, and they were like, "In your 8 months, you've never had one guest snap at you or yell at you." And he goes, "Yeah, sometimes people like maybe raise their voice if they're mad about something." He's like, "But I diffuse the situation," and I do too. Like we've gotten much better at just not taking things so personal when it comes to anger and feedback, and I think that shows a healthy growth in our system. And we try to show like, hey, if we can do it, like other people can do it too, whether they have whatever their struggle is, because everybody has something going on. We have a friend, she's battling cancer. Like we have a lot of people that are going through stuff, so it's like, everyone has their own thing. They're helping their ailing parent who might pass away soon. It's like, I never assume that because I have a problem that I'm dealing with that someone else doesn't either. And I think as long as you treat people that way, like, I think you're on a good path. It's hard to do it sometimes, I get it, but try your best. I can see why Noah was brought back despite Donnie not leaving the door open. Has the first Venom unique villain to be? I mean, that's true too. I mean, I get business wise why it was brought back, but I don't think creatively. I mean, I didn't read the issue to be fair, so but it didn't look the few panels I read on that Instagram post didn't seem like it made a difference. But whatever. I guess he's gonna try to. There has to be a King in Black, and there isn't one right now. So, I guess that's the lore Donnie set up as well. So, yeah, whatever. I hope the therapy helps you merge the others. I hope you take care, and we love and appreciate you, Seek. Have a good night. Hey, you too, Enigmatic. I mean, that is the goal, but we're stopping therapy right before Thanksgiving. So next week is our last week of therapy until February or whatever of next year. One, it'll help us with money and stuff too, but also it'll help me really spend time with Blue and communicate with him more, and it's not a bad idea. He proposed, he brought a good bill to our Senate hearing, and it's worth reading and going through and taking the time before we make a decision on it. So to put it in political terms, which our government does not work like that, but I try to with our D.I.D government. I would like to read it. I think you still have my email. Oh, the idea. I mean, I'm going to wait because I have, as I have new books coming out, those will open doors. I still have one, like I said, a heel or a toe in the world of comics and friends and stuff, some of them who edit. I'm sure I can get to a point where I could actually make that story a reality. So for right now, no one's going to read it or even the pitch or beyond the idea I just told you, like the few concepts I just said. I'm not going to share it with anyone because I still have hope that we can, after Neverland comes out, because that's 3 novels that are going to hopefully do well for us and help us make some extra money. My art book, I don't know if it's going to do too well. I have a book that I wrote that's an old book that I revisited and rewrote in a way, and I'm going to give that out for free, and I think that might give us hopefully some attention on some level. It deals with AI, so there's your hint, which is kind of a giveaway too, if you've read my only book I made about AI. But I thought what I said about AI 12 years ago is even more relevant now. I was definitely ahead of the curve on that approach to AI. So I want to revisit it in a different format. So I'm going to give that out for free. Venom wandering the Earth, trying to figure out itself out independent of whoever the host is neat. Who am I? Not we, I. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cool concepts you can do with Venom and stuff like that, for sure. I won't say you aren't broken. However, think of the concept of kintsugi. The plates are still there. You can still see the breaks, but they're remade into pieces of whole. So yeah, I mean, but I guess Blue's perspective is that being broken is as is with the shatters, like maybe what you're saying, is also whole. So like, I mean, because we can do pretty amazing things. Like, I don't know if you heard me earlier. I had a kidney stone recently, and it was bad. 2 of them. They had a laser one. They were bad. The one was big, and so they had to laser it. But we still had to pass pieces. We still had to pass the other one, which was just a little too small to laser. I was in a lot of pain. I was in so much pain, I couldn't control my body for 2.5 days. Blue was in control. And green, I think, at some point came out too. The fact that I was in pain and I couldn't even like get up and walk, I had to take the pain pills and they would like make me lucid and I would like drift back to sleep or whatever. The fact that I was living like that, but Blue was still going to work. He would switch and take control and go to work. And I think he had some discomfort a little bit, but not compared to what I was having. I think till towards the end when we finally passed it, it was like the day before. I think he was like, "Oh my God, this actually, I can actually feel it, like big time now." But he was still going to work, and I'm like, dude, that like the last time I had one, I missed work for like 2 weeks or a week. I think I like took a whole week off and just drank water so I could get rid of it, and ate cucumbers and salads and stuff that produces water. But this time he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to work and I'm going to get like a McDonald's French fry." I'm like, "No, don't like drink water and try to eat a little bit better. Eat things with water in it." But the fact that our body can do that it's pretty amazing. Like, and I know other people have told me that, and I'm just like, yeah, I get freaked out by it. But now I've come around to be like, that's something. And so I think, yes, we are broken, but we're just meant to be like this. Like, and life dealt us a dirty hand for sure as kids, but maybe we can make something good of that. Like, a lot of times in therapy, the reason why merging alters isn't always the goal anymore is because there's been now long-term research of people who have merged and the difficulties they've experienced. Back when they called this multiple personality disorder, before the DSM-5 came out and they updated it with new information. But even now, like I'm pretty sure the next like 5 or 10 years, they'll probably do a new version where they update what they learn now about DID and how it's sometimes it's just healthier for the identities to be apart. And that's discussions we had before we started this process. But I think I'm ultimately glad we still went through this process because I've learned about fade and green in ways that, they weren't willing to share and open up about before. And I've had these really good moments of connectivity with them and made real breakthroughs with communication with them, especially with fade. So I think we're gonna take a time out. We'll see where it goes. But I like I said, Blue's point of view is not wrong, and neither is mine. I mean, I think moving towards a united front is a good idea, but being apart, he's not wrong that could be a good thing too. So we're just trying to explore all the options. And I think I've kind of been a little closed-minded to his approach recently. But I think that, again, I think it goes back to me trying to self-delete before, and this is me looking at this merge as a way of like self-deleting in a way, and maybe that's why I'm drawn to it is in an unhealthy way, and I gotta listen to that criticism and be aware of it. So I thought that was an interesting thing he said. It hurt my feelings when he said it, but it made me look. It made me look and listen, and so I think that's good, too. Integration is something that needs a unanimous vote. Otherwise, you're erasing a person, and that person is part. I mean, you're right. I mean, that's right, and that's how Blue sees it. Blue looks at it as him losing teammates. He's like, we're a team. We're like the Ninja Turtles, he says sometimes, or the Lantern Corps when they had to team up and fight. What's his name, Necron. Like, so he's like, we need all the colors, man. We need all the colors to be here, and it's to deal with something that might come in our future. We might need all of you. We might need a skill set that only you have. And if you merge with green and fade, maybe you guys have a disinterest in that skill set and don't want to use it anymore, and it just goes away. So he's like, so again, all good points, for sure. I don't think I'm qualified to comment on your system. Only thing about mergers I heard about is from the Hulk, but I do know that for sure I will miss you after the show is done. Well, I will miss you too, man. And I know not everyone has Instagram. I'm not going to try to keep that email going because obviously I'm bad at it. I've been bad at it. It's weird. Like you look at your last 11 years and you go like, oh, I've done nothing but share my feelings and life and stuff and experiences with people online. But that can be good and bad. Like I had a stalker at one point. I think I mentioned that once or twice on the show, but someone found out where I lived once and came to my apartment in LA, and it freaked me out, man. So like, it's there's good and bad to everything, but I think mostly it's been positive doing this stuff. But I do feel like I'm at a point in my life where whether I continue to go on or not, like I think I've just run out of things to share on a lot of levels, and because I don't want to trauma dump. I don't want to make this show a DID channel. I don't want to make this show about politics or talking about other YouTubers and bad mouthing people. I don't want to do that kind of stuff. Like to stay relevant or stay in, the thing. And I just don't think there's enough good Venom stuff or interesting Venom stuff that comes out that I want to keep talking about either. I think I've said what I wanted to say about the character. And like I said, even if I did another character like Green Lantern, I would probably only cover maybe like a couple months worth of stuff and be done with it again as well. And I'd be back to this point anyway. So yeah, but I will miss you guys too. I'm trying to make healthier decisions, and although this is not an unhealthy thing to do, but like I said, buying things to review can be an unhealthy thing to do. And it definitely built a lot of clutter. I mean, a lot of stuff that just ended up in my closet. And I don't know if you've been following my Instagram, but Blue's been going through those closets because we have 3 closets. And he's been going through like every couple months and just putting stuff aside and says, we need to get rid of this. And now we're down to the point where the closet outside, we filled that up. But these 2 closets, like the one behind me and the one over that way, you can hang clothes in them. You can walk through them now. Like they serve as real closets now. They're empty other than just clothes and stuff. So yeah, I mean, like Blue's been awesome helping with that too. Like because he's not emotionally attached to any of that stuff. So he's helped me get rid of it, find new homes for it, give it away, sell it, like whatever we got to do to move it on to someone who will appreciate it. He gives stuff away to people at work all the time. You know, someone says they're a fan of the Crow. He's like, oh, I saw Seek had some Crow stuff. He goes through. He asked me, do you want to sell it on eBay? I said, no, man, give it to the guy at work. And he's like, okay, and he puts it in a pile and brings it into work and gives it to people. That's just how he is, you know, and I like that. It's a nice thing because it means these things get to go. I think you know, there's been people who follow the show that bought a lot of my Venom stuff, you know, and I would mail it to them. So it's been awesome. Like all this stuff is going to live on. The stuff we've talked about over the years is going to live on. But Blue does not like clutter. Like if you see our apartment, like he tries to get rid of furniture. He likes just open space, a bed, desk. You know, so like this is our entertainment area, and that's our bed over there, and that's what he likes. You know, and so with him coming out more and fronting more, I wanted him to have more of a say in how we live. And he put all this cyberpunk stuff up on the walls, put, you know, like got these tarps and made it, turn them into like wallpaper essentially, so that our entertainment area looks like a future city, which is, he's into like synthwave music and rap music and future stuff. Like he's, you know, he likes AI, you know, whereas I like think, you know, there's good applications of AI, but you know, in art and stuff, I don't like it, but he's the opposite. He's interested in that stuff. And so that's another reason why I revisited the book I'm was rewriting. So yeah, it's just, you know, but he's right. You know, maybe there is a strength to us, and you're right, it has to be unanimous. And if he votes against it, even though he's not one of the ones merging, but he's going to lose something, and so he has a say. His voice matters. So we're trying to consider all things. You know, I don't think if you go that route, you still remain somehow, even if it's just a part. Yeah, the knowledge that I have of like, okay, I did a YouTube show. I talked about Venom. I know about Venom. All that stuff will still be there, but how I present myself, how I deliver things, like Green is a very different identity. Well, one, he's fluent in Spanish because he landscaped for a couple of years, so he picked up a lot of Spanish. He's stronger than all of us. He speaks in like 4-word sentences mostly, so he has a very rigid identity. So you put that. So whereas I'm like a word vomit, diarrhea, he's the opposite. You know, so like he's like a constipated kind of thing. So it's like, so you merge that, and then with Fade, who is nonverbal and just nothing but trauma, you get something different for sure. And like I said, does that person want to keep making YouTube content? Do they even care? They have all this knowledge. Do they care about sharing it with people? Like who knows what side is stronger at what, you know? And so for that risk, that's why I was like, well, it's probably better to end the show while I'm still 100% me. But even if I still continue to be 100% me, like, you know, I don't think I'm going to go on Twitch anymore. I don't really like Twitch as a platform. I don't like some of their business practices. It's a good tool. And same with YouTube. It's like, you know, you're never going to love everything you do and work, you know, who you work for and stuff. So you just try to find the good in things, and there's good to both. But like would I play the Venom game and stream it on Twitch, you know, when it comes out, and then upload those to YouTube? I don't know. I mean, I might just want to have a snowcat moment like Walter Mitty and just play it and just ingest it for me and keep my opinions about it to myself. I've become more like that over the last year, and I like that about me. Like I'll go see a movie and I won't post that I saw the movie, you know, like I won't review it. You know, there's been a bunch of movies I saw recently. I think I talked about Weapons and Superman and Fantastic Four, but those were the bigger ones that people talked about. But there's other stuff I saw, you know, whether on streaming platforms or in theaters, that I'm just like, I just don't share my opinion on anymore. And I kind of like that it's just for me, you know. And there's time I spend with people that I sometimes post, and you know, on Instagram that, hey, I spent a day with my friends, and then sometimes I don't, because I'm like, yeah, this was just a good moment that we had, and that I just want it to be for me. So I kind of adopted a little bit more of that, and Blue's kind of like that too. So that's probably where I get it from. But yeah, Hulk is a great representation of compromising, merging, working with another, because Hulk is his own identity. You know, he's like this repressed thing that comes out of Bruce, that has been irradiated by gamma, something that already existed that came forward. I think the what's that movie? The Hulk movie before Edward Norton, I think did a really great job at that part. I didn't really like the movie overall, but revisiting it, I'm like, you know, this Eric Bana played the Hulk, who I thought was a great choice for Bruce Banner and Hulk. Even though Hulk, I know you CG, it makes sense to make Hulk CG. But this idea of that, and then even recently in the MCU, they had because there's that whole scene at the end where he's talking to his dad and they're in the chairs and he's realizing that he was traumatized as a kid, and that's what the Hulk is like it's this identity that got repressed in a way that got once the radiation hit it, gave it purpose or life in a way. And that's kind of a neat thing. And then recently in the MCU, he's merged into smart Hulk. So again, he's not Bruce Banner and he's not Hulk. He's like a little bit of both. And that's a good representation of it in fiction, I guess I would say, of a merge of two identities in fiction. But as you can see, the internet, some people like that version and some people don't, so we'll see. Let's see, what it means is you are pieces, but those are pieces part of something rather than made into a new whole. Right, exactly. Like a broken mirror is still a mirror. It's just a bunch of little mirrors, So yeah, I get what you're saying. The conversation is always important as long as you are talking is progress. I think so too. But without getting too much into that, thanks for letting me air some of that out. We went an hour longer than I said I would. I got to try to call my mom and check in on her and let her know I'm okay and everything. So I'm going to go do that and spend some time talking to them on the phone and see how their day went and stuff. So this is a goodbye for now. I will have some more videos. Some shorts will go up between now and this weekend coming up. And I'll try to have at least one long video go up this week for Venom vlog. And then you'll probably see some Seek at Night stuff because I'm trying to get to episode 350. And I'm going to try to get to those episodes of Moon Knight where I kind of do a little bit of discussion about Moon Knight, the TV show, and where I'd like to see the character go in the future. So that will wrap up Seek at Night 2 as well. And then we'll get the last Seek and Destroy episode out there. So we got a lot of stuff coming, but we'll get it all out. And then December 1st, starting that week, we'll play Cosmic Invasion and we'll live stream it here. So you'll get more Venom vlog episodes where you can come out, hang out with me, talk Venom. We'll play levels. We'll try to get through the game. And even if we beat it, maybe we'll go back through and you'll unlock some things like the Ninja Turtle one. And we can go back through and do a second playthrough and do another couple episodes with power-ups and stuff or however they do it. So yeah, we'll talk about that. But we'll try to play the whole game. I think the game you start off as Nova and Quasar. And then after that, you can start picking up new characters. So once we get Venom, we'll play as Venom the whole game through. And then maybe the second playthrough we'll play as other characters and shake it up. And so we'll get like 2 playthroughs on Venom Vlog Live because I'm sure it's not going to be a long game, too. So yeah, we'll see you then. But thank you guys. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Thanks for the 4 thumbs up. I'm so glad. If you want to see what we talked about in the earlier before people started flooding in, I think the first 45 minutes is me talking about just like the comics and all the stuff we got coming up and things we covered and my viewpoints on the movies. Hopefully I got everything out I wanted to discuss on here, but if not, we got those, playthroughs of the video game coming up. But Swordsman, thank you for your time. Thank you for, like I said, you've commented the most out of everybody on this channel. That level of support and kindness is amazing. And I know some of you guys, we come from different walks of life. I know, if I talk about D.I.D, sometimes it makes people uncomfortable, and that's not my goal. I never want to do that. I never want to dump my problems on you. I appreciate the questions, those who are curious and ask about that stuff. But I really just appreciate that we've built a community, no matter how small or big, like of people that came together and talked about and discussed a character like Venom. And we agreed, disagreed, but we never yelled at each other or shouted or hated each other. Hopefully you guys don't hate me for some of the opinions I have, but I really set out in a world that was very noisy about politics and other things. I really wanted just to create a space where people, didn't matter where you're from, could come and discuss something as low effort, not low effort, but as low stakes as a comic book character and be like, hey, look, we can come from different parts of the world and agree or disagree on something and not hate each other for it. And that's what I always wanted to do. Was I just felt like I would give opinions on things and people would just vehemently come at me. And I'm just like, well, let's just narrow it down. I love Tom Hardy. Let's see if we can meet other Tom Hardy fans. And then he's playing Venom. Let's see if we can meet other Venom fans. And I got to say, there's already been an amazing community of Venom fans out there. And a lot of them have welcomed me into that community. And some didn't, and that's fine too. But like some did, and they really were cool with me and let me have a voice in a community that already existed and let me have a little like piece of it for a couple of years and it made me happy. And hopefully, it gave us a place to just hang out and be cool with each other. And I'm always grateful that we've had this, and I can now look back and say, here's proof. And and when we do job interviews, if I bring up YouTube because I put on my resume, I go, I've done YouTube for 11 years. Here's the skills I've learned. I've learned editing. When I start getting copyright strikes or claims because of music, I learned how to make my own music with Purple, and and like especially Purple came in and helped out big time. And it's like, and thumbnails, I try to get better at thumbnails. It's like I learned things. I learned how to communicate better. I've learned how to review a product better, or look at the meaning of something, or dissect something in a way for what it is as opposed to for what I want it to be. And I think all those are good skills to have in the job world too. So I'm glad to have had this time and all these things with you guys. And I owe you guys like a lot of my self-growth has come from you guys. And so, together, like Venom, we have grown, hopefully, and it's meant a lot. So you guys are cool too. I appreciate you saying that. Thank you for your time as always. And we will come back with more Venom Vlog Lives with Cosmic Invasion in December. Until then, have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your holiday season. I can't wait. I'm going to do a lot of cooking this year, so it's green. And we're going to fill our fridge with like yams and all this stuff. We're going to go buy all of it tomorrow after Blue gets off work. So I'm very excited. We're going to start cooking this week and getting all that stuff and have like another D.I.D Thanksgiving like we did last year. Which was our we did without Ace. It was our first year with a Thanksgiving without a pet and friend. So we did a D.I.D Thanksgiving and all pitched in and did something together. And so that's what we're going to do. And Blue's role is to eat all of our food, him and Fade. So thank you again. I do appreciate you guys, and happy Thanksgiving to you. And we'll come back and I'll say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you when we do Cosmic Invasion. Thanks so much. See you in the future. Peace.